Well, we made it out of the spooky woods, Mark, but we seem
did.
to have found us. Wait, look, the woods are dissolving into data, and now there's just girders flying around? Oh, fucking hell, Mark. We're in the digital world.
Oh, what, again?
I hate it when this happens. You're just strolling through the woods and then it turns into a bunch of fucking girders.
Well, we digi-done it now, so let's digi-do it. What are we doing? Where are we going now?
Well, you poked those digi puns in there.
Yep, I thought I'd get it out of the way early doors.
Oh, what's that over there? It seems to be some kind of digi egg. It's hatching. And who have I found inside but the Donkey Kong of film criticism himself, Mr. Abdel Belabbes.
Hey.
Surprise, motherfuckers.
It's good to have you back.
That was a genuine
It's me.
surprise.
I'm a Digimon.
Watch out for that girder, mate. That girder's going to hit you. Just step aside.
And also,
Thanks.
do you have any spare blood or body parts? Because we ate most of mine in the woods last week, so I could definitely do with some.
Yeah, I've always got some blood to spare.
Cool. So whilst I drain Abdul of his blood, nothing else, you filthy sluts listening, I know what you're like. Aidan, would you like to introduce what we're going to be doing? Would you like to introduce what we're doing in the Digi world? Please.
Well, whilst we float around in this endless void, which is punctuated only by girders and occasionally Japanese teenagers screaming at us, whilst we wait for the marketing Kangaroo to find us here, as he inevitably will because he spends all his time on the internet, why don't we discuss two movies from the past, the distant past of the late 90s, early 2000s. Now, last time, Abdul, you were here, we talked about, of course, Titan AE
Yes.
and Final Fantasy The Spirits Within. This
Unfortunately.
time, we've selected two equally as good films, I would say.
Yeah. And equally as aggressively 2000s.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
I mean, let's not beat around the bush. The listeners know because they've seen the title of the episode. We're discussing Pokémon, the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, which I think is the title.
Yeah, it is.
And we're also discussing Digimon, the movie, which, if there's punctuation in the title Digimon, the movie, it should just be quotation marks around the entire title.
Isn't it just Digimon, the movie?
The movie, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it should be, Digimon, the movie.
Digimon, the movie.
You mean Digimon, we suppose this is a movie because it's 90 minutes. Is that what we're saying?
Digimon, we legally managed to make this a movie.
Yeah. This
Digimon, we know you'll pay for this shit.
And pay for that shit we did.
We did. Because in the spirit of torturing Abdul whenever he comes on this show...
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, exposing him to
because we sort of knew we'd find him in the digital world, even though we didn't realise we were going to the digital world. We somehow still managed to book a guest.
Yeah, these things happen. The marketing room is very good at his job. Yes.
This is a very well scripted Channel Awesome style bit that we're doing.
Oh, look out for that girder. So, let's not waste any time here on the internet, in the DigiVerse, or whatever we're going with.
Because we've only got so much power left in the modem, guys.
Yeah. This dial-up is going to cut out any second now.
Okay.
What if Mum needs to use the phone?
I mean, these TikTok kids have no idea what we're talking about. What's a modem?
Mate, I remember
Generation Z don't listen to this.
I remember the first time we got internet as a kid, and it was a penny a minute internet, and the idea of that is honestly abhorrent in the modern age. That is some primeval shit.
How long did it take to load a JPEG?
Oh, mate, that's where they get you. That's where they get you. It was such a
slow
shitty connection. You go, penny a minute, that's fine. That won't cost anything. No, mate. Early 2000s internet was a fucking scam, just like these two films are.
Whoa! There is some shade already.
Harsh, salty words.
Well, one of these films, at least.
Even more controversial. Mark has a preference.
We know that Mark thinks one of these is good.
Whoa, I wouldn't say good. Okay, one of them is less shit than the other. Is what I would say.
I think one of them's your favorite. You're wearing like licensed merch from one of the films.
Okay, that's actual slander, and I won't stand for it here in the Digiverse. Okay.
You are wearing a Pikachu onesie. Yeah. I refuse to pronounce any of the characters' names right. of the characters that I know.
Doesn't Pikachu stand for electric rat, or am I incorrect?
I don't know what to tell you there.
You would know better than I, being the number one Pokemon stan.
Okay, I am not the number one Pokemon stan, okay? And I'm offended by that accusation. So whilst I look at whether or not Pikachu does mean electric rat or not, let's listen to some shit from the Pokemon movie.
An unstoppable new enemy.
We dreamed of creating the world's strongest Pokémon, and we succeeded.
A mysterious invitation.
You have been chosen to join a select group of Pokémon trainers at a special gathering.
Sets Ash and his friends on a dangerous voyage to confront a formidable Pokémon.
Humans may have created me, but they will never enslave me.
So after some infighting between the three of us and me having to apparently accept that I'm the number one Pokemon stan on this show, I'm apparently doing the intro. So this is the Pokemon movie. It came out at some point. I haven't written a script. At
some point.
As you can
Sorry, I can't let that slide. I know this is a sloppy episode, but you can't just say it came out at some point.
Yes, I can, and I will. No. So the Pokemon movie, it came out in... Real good episode.
Yeah, we should say it's Pokemon the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes
So,
Back.
Pokemon the first movie, it came out in 1998. So, as the title implies, it's the first of many Pokemon movies. Came out at a point where the series was probably at its most popular, or verging on the point where it was about to sort of peak in popularity, and was the introduction of Mewtwo, who is a clone of Mew, supposedly the most powerful Pokemon ever in existence, made from an eyelash. Not sure where they got that, we'll talk about that later. And it basically involves Mewtwo saying that he wants to be the Grandmaster of all Pokemon, essentially, and challenging the world's best trainers to come and fight him so he can clone their Pokemon, and then some sad shit happens, and I've got nothing. Continue.
You might say he wanted to be the very best.
Like no one ever was.
So I've just fired Abdul and Aiden from the show. The marketing room is furious with me, but we will find a way to make it work.
We don't even know where he is. We don't even know where this guy... He's lost in the digital
He'll
world.
find us. Mate, he has...
I mean, I'll say this.
He has men.
That song is a banger, right?
Oh, the Pokemon theme slaps.
It's the only good thing about Pokemon. People think it's good because they remember the song. And the song, to be fair, both slaps and flips.
I'm pretty sure your assessment on why people like Pokemon is deeply flawed, but we don't have time to get into it. So, initial thoughts on Pokemon, the first movie.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I'm kind of inclined to agree. I mean, I didn't think it was entirely without merit. I think there's some interesting, like you guys know me. I'm a big fucking massive weeb, and anytime I see kind of like decent Japanese animation, I cream my pants a little. But so like the intro of this movie starts pretty strong. There's like this entire like sci-fi Frankenstein backstory for the character Mewtwo, and it kind of even starts a little bit like ethereal, and it's a bit arty.
It starts with a lot of sort of like existentialism, doesn't it? Because like the opening lines of the movie are very much "Who am I? Where am I? What am I?" Which I remember watching it for this view, and I haven't seen this movie in a very, very long time. But I was like, I don't remember the opening being this sort of somber.
Yeah, and it does also open with like the character Mewtwo being born and then proceeding to murder a bunch of guys, which is metal as fuck.
Yeah, the opening to this movie kind of rules. Like all the imagery of Mewtwo in his little sphere and everything. And then he like wakes up and just wrecks shit. I mean, it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, but then like as it here's the thing. What's the thing?
Okay, I'm ready. I'm leaning.
I mean, Pokemon fans have subsequently kind of thought this. I mean, true Pokemon fans, not like you, Mark, who's like a fake Pokemon shill.
Very true, and very based.
This is like a sequel to this TV series that we all grew up watching, right? The 90s series.
Yes.
And subsequently, like, a lot of Pokemon fans have kind of, like, turned on, like, the characters of that one, right? Like, they think Ash is kind of, like, an annoying character, and Misty, like... I mean, they're all just kind of, like, non-entities, right? And they're just kind of annoying. Brock is kind of like a pervert.
They're mere vessels for people to just see the world of Pokemon. That's literally all
Yeah, because there's another guy who's like Ash too, that the Pokemon fans think is better. Is he called Red or something?
Yeah, that's like...
Red is the protagonist from the games.
Yeah.
It's just the same guy.
From the games.
I
Less
know
obnoxious,
Pokemon
right?
fans who will say, like, oh, he's this great character, whereas Ash is a batty boy. But I don't see the difference. They're both two little cunts wearing hats who have a mouse that shoots lightning. I don't understand.
I would also like to chime in. I did look up what Pikachu says, and it means, and it is electric mouse. It does say that.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, they're both...
Make sure that got known.
Thanks, mate.
But yeah, the problem with this film is that once it gets to Ash and the gang after Mewtwo, the film kind of like, meow, just kind of like
we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, because we need to just address something, that these two are monstrously unprofessional, and they only watched the Mewtwo Strikes Back section of what I consider to be the Pokemon movie. As I'm sure the real heads of the audience remember, there is a 20-minute, interminably long, short... I say short, like that's an episode of a show, 20 minutes. Like that, and it's fucking torturous. But it precedes the Pokemon movie, and it's called Pikachu's Vacation. And this shit made me do whatever crimes I'm going to commit tonight. I just want that to be on the record. I want people to remember that shit. I have never understood more what it was like to be my parents watching this fucking shit in the cinema when it originally came out. 'Cause let me tell you about Pikachu's Vacation. We'll get back to Mewtwo and his crusade against man and Pokemon in a minute, yeah? Fucking Pikachu's Vacation is bullshit. Ash, Brock and Misty drop off the Pokemon on a fucking holiday island, and then nothing happens for 20 minutes. Except we learn a few things, such as that Pokemon don't fight each other naturally. The Pokemons would rather live in peace. They actually resolve their differences because Pikachu and his friends meet a gang of fellow Pokemons who don't like them for some reason. It's hard to understand what exactly is going on because no one can speak in this. They're all just going Pika Pika Pooka 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 Pooka. And it's just I don't even know what I'm supposed to take from this. But there's this little egg-looking cunt that Pikachu's trying to look after, and for some reason, whatever, man. And supposedly these other Pokemons they're gonna like do unspeakable things to this egg thing, right? So Pikachu's like, hey man, let's not. And then in order to resolve this, they have a foot race. Which, considering some of them don't have feet, is an interesting thing that Pokemon Society has built up. Because as we learn from this thing, because there's a little narrator, the Pokédex narrates this, and it's like, Pokemons don't normally fight in the wild. Which just begs so many questions. Like, watching that blew my mind. I was like, wait, hang on a minute. How have we created a society where there's a blood sport around creatures that don't fight each other, naturally speaking?
Yeah. I mean,
anyway, there's some real dark underbellies to the Pokemon world that I don't even want to think about. Like,
well, no, we are going to think about it, because the film raises these questions and then proceeds to dash them against rocks.
Because
this is the thing, right? Okay, if you want to understand the kind of world where they've created a blood sport out of these seemingly innocent
sentient creatures. Sentient creatures.
We
can't understand their language, but it is a language.
One of them speaks English.
The cat-looking thing speaks English.
Canonically, humans eat them as well.
Yeah, they do eat them. I mean, that's not so... Like, humans eat animals and they're... Oh, we're just... This is... We've fallen into the poker trap. This is what's happened. Like,
you've activated my trap card.
Yeah,
that's a different thing altogether.
Yeah, we need
let
to give that guy a shout out.
let her rip, am I right?
Should we, because we brought up these like different franchises, should we talk about like what I'm sure everyone and their fucking mother knows what Pokemon is, but when this film came out, do you guys remember this film coming out first?
I do, yes, I do.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about the kind of pandemonium that was going on thanks to the Pokemon franchise at the time? I mean, Pokemon's this thing that's now ubiquitous to...
I'll put it this way, like, I've never had a crack addiction, but being a child that was super into Pokemon, I think I know what it's like to have a crack addiction.
Yeah.
Being an adult, being into Pokemon, you know.
No, that's having a mental illness. But we digress.
Just slacking off anyone who's listening to this. Love to see it.
Yeah, if you have any Pokemon fans listening,
I also know that
yourselves.
I've offended so many people that I know by saying that.
One of our most regular listeners is currently infuriated, both by the fact that you've said that and that I've been dogmatically saying Pokémons as the plural for Pokemon.
Give it that straight boomer energy. Yeah, Pokemon was wild at the time.
Oh, it was crazy. Like I don't think I've ever experienced anything else quite like it throughout my childhood. Because obviously, other things came and went. Like, obviously, Harry Potter was a big thing.
And also, if you're still into Harry Potter at the age of 30, you need to fucking stop. All right, you need to stop.
Yeah, grow up. There's other books.
Have sex.
That's
Have sex
Bible.
once in your life, please.
Read your Quran.
Make love. No, don't read the. Well, maybe if you're a Muslim, read the Quran. But like, make love to a human, please, for the love of Christ.
And not a J.K. Rowling love pillow, you fucking freak.
Yeah, don't fucking make love to Hagrid, the life-size doll of Hagrid you have. Make love to another human, please.
There's only one Hagrid that is acceptable to be attracted to, and that's PS1 Hagrid. I think we could all agree on that.
He's a sexy motherfucker.
He's the bear we all deserve.
Powerfully erotic.
Right, we're falling into the trap of talking about anything other than the film.
So back to Pokemon a second. I'll keep this on track. Back to Pokemon a second. It was so wild that it became.
Abdel, you're sweating. You're so full of fervour for Pokemon.
It's really hot, and also Pokemon the movie is an intense point of contention for me. No, I just wanted to touch on the craziness of how Pokemon
kids got beaten up over Pokemon cards at my school. It was
banned.
They had to ban it at my school. They had to ban
it at my school. They had to ban all
same.
this shit. And it kind of inspired well, it's not the first of its kind because we could talk about the history of post Reagan children's TV and how much gamification was a thing after that point. But a lot of people a lot of people who grew up in the 80s had the experience of Transformers and the Transformers movie being this emotional touch point for them when Optimus Prime dies, and a lot of people of our generation, a lot of millennials, have the same thing here because there's some stuff there's some emotions in this film that we'll get to in a second that
Not
a
single one. I felt no.
just contempt from Aiden. But
Listen, I just want to make something abundantly clear before you continue, Abdul.
Yeah.
In real life, outside of the podcast, I'm a friend to animals. I do not consume animals, I do not harm them. However, every single Pokemon, if I lived in that universe, I would hunt them. Not even to eat them. Not even to eat them. I just want them dead. It's as simple as that.
Do you think Pokemon are like aliens or something? It's another one of those things. It's another one of those things that
They're
you're
bordering on
rationally
it. They're bordering
homicidal
on it.
towards.
Well,
No, it's
I'll tell you a
rational.
bit of...
We shouldn't have animals shooting lightning out their fucking cocks, just running around the place willy-nilly.
I disagree, but that's for another time.
Well, in the Pokemon universe, Pokemon created the universe,
Just
right?
bullshit, mate. Just pure bullshit. Some of them are just psychic as well, that's the thing.
That's terrifying. I mean,
the lightning,
okay.
the fire, the leaves, I get it. It's elemental. But the psychic one?
Yeah, it's another one of the
elements.
elements. Psychic, poison, ground.
It's one of the elements, Aiden. Oh, I don't think he's one of the initiated. He doesn't know Abdul.
Yeah, he
fine.
doesn't. There's come on, yeah. You and I, we understand the whole thing.
We'll continue this podcast through our psychic powers. You ready? See, Aiden can't understand that.
We just made love.
It's just because I don't speak Virgin.
You and I both know you're very eloquent in that. So
Pokemon.
I just wanted to bring up a little memory that this film unlocked in my. Oh, my watch is going. I'll do that again in a second. Shut up, watch.
That's part of the digital world.
It's a Casio too.
The most digital watch there is.
The most high-tech watch in the world. A fucking Casio. Anyway, let's go with this again. I just wanted to share a memory that this film unlocked for me. It's seeing Anton Deck being interviewed on TV talking about the pandemonium of Pokemon, and them saying that they didn't get it because it was weird in Japanese, and there was motion lines, and people, their lips would just move but they wouldn't move. And I just remember as a kid, I was the audacity of these fuckers to talk about something that they know nothing about and be like, this is shit.
When they are Anton Deck.
When they are Anton Deck, and this is the thing I wanted to go on about.
We should say that Ant and Dec were pivotal in introducing Pokemon to the United Kingdom. Because
that is very true.
Because for our non-UK listeners, of whom there are 2s, possibly 3s, so there was this show called SMTV Live that was like one of those things where there were live presenters and they also showed cartoons. And the big get that they had, these 2 Geordie fellas called Ant and Dec, they got fucking Pokemon before anyone else. And they thought it was going to be a load of shit. Turned out to be the biggest thing since Jesus.
And this shows to me the hackery of... So I grew up... This is going to be an insight into my childhood. I grew up in a family that didn't have very much money, but we had pirated cable. And I had access to Cartoon Network and Fox Kids and Nickelodeon. So I was mercifully kept away from the schlock of British TV. Like when I found out most kids grew up watching, I'm gonna throw some shade at some people. Grew up watching Raven, watching fucking Ant and Dec, watching fucking fuck Blue Peter, by the way.
The Raven fucking rules. So.
Fuck the Raven. Fuck Blue Peter. If you
I never saw it. I'm kind of with you, Abdul, where I was fortunate enough to grow up in a house that had access to things like Cartoon Network and such. So like
much better content. Like
absolutely, like
Texas Laboratory, Ed, Edd and Eddie.
Well, when I was a kid, cable didn't come to our village. All right, we had to make do with whatever was on the BBC.
Oh, just
what was projected onto
trash.
the nearest cow. You fucking country bumpkin.
Look,
and
one of our friends who'd been to the city would act it out for us.
And that's why I'm here in the digital world, to tell you tidings of the Pokemon movie. And here we go. So anyway, well, the fucking Pikachu adventure shit happens, and then, then we start with this whole Mewtwo backstory, and then we meet our would-be heroes, the squad. Just is about to be menaced by some Pokemon trainers while
we should go through the squad, though. People listening might not have seen Pokemon.
Yeah, alright, to the vagabonds out there. There's Ash Ketchum, the man with the most spot-on name in all of history. There's Brock.
Character.
Yeah, our lead. He's introduced being a spoiled little twat who's asking to be fed and doing nothing to help, while his mate Brock, presumably last name Lesnar, cooks up what he calls a lazy boy no chew stew, despite the fact there are obvious chunks of chewable food in it. And Misty, a redhead who likes water animals, and that's all she's got going for her. She just kind of nags the main characters.
Just like a woman.
And that might sound sexist to you viewers, but to that I'd say I agree. It is sexist but like she like everyone else in the show has no personality, except being belligerent and annoying. And then we have our, I'd say, antagonists for most of the show, but they're kind of like comedic relief. Team Rocket show up, which can only be described as a pair of drag queens and a talking cat.
And just saying, they are the best characters in the whole Pokemon universe.
I agree.
Team Rocket.
I agree.
Best characters.
Yeah, the show should be about Team Rocket, right?
I agree.
Who gives a fuck about Ash?
Because I just need to... but obviously we will discuss the sliver of plot this movie has shortly, but I just want to flag up that Team Rocket are both incredible at what they do and woefully inept. The stuff that they're incredible at is, like, in this movie, they managed to convince Ash, Brock, and Misty that they're Vikings.
That they're Vikings. Who so, Minnesota confirmed in the Pokemon universe.
Yeah. obviously that's a football joke. Like, but weird that they, like, so blatantly reference Minnesota in this movie.
Yeah.
Because this is set in America, obviously.
Exactly.
Americans.
Yeah, I mean, that actually does bring up a thing about, like, the vagary of ethnicity in this show, because, like...
Hang on. Before we get into the vagaries of ethnicity, Abdul, and I'm sure you will take us on this track, I'm trying to convey this movie as linearly as possible.
Oh, sorry. So, yeah, that's like an entire quagmire we'll get into.
Yeah, we'll stumble into that bog later.
Maybe into Digimon.
So, yeah, listen. So, we're introduced to the gang. Ash is immediately challenged by a roaming Pokemon trainer. And this is where we get the drop of the iconic theme song. Except this movie even fucks that up. Because they don't just use the theme song from the show. They're using some weird shit cover It's like where like the singer is just clearly trying to differentiate himself from the original version because he's always like, I wanna be the very best. Like he's just not quite right.
Yeah,
it's
like he's having diaphragm spasms. It's like an R&B version, right?
Yeah, and it's fucking shit.
It's diabolical.
They should have just used the theme. Everyone remembers the theme.
And it's sung by R. Kelly. Anyway.
It better not be. It better not be.
Anyway.
But then Team Rocket show up.
Team Rocket show up, and they go about their shtick, which, if we don't know, they just want Ash as Pikachu because they're on the pump from their boss. And that's just what their motivation is. It's what their always motivation is. Team Rocket are part of a conglomerate.
And they have a cat-looking Pokemon who can talk for some reason. Meowth.
There is an entire episode of the show that explains why he can talk, and it's very, very peculiar.
It's just he learns. That's it.
He learns by living. If I remember correctly, he lives in like the attic space above an opera house or something like that, and he mimics the humans that live inside. I haven't seen this for a very, very.
Which
long
implies
I just remember him reading a book.
It implies that Pikachu chooses not to speak the human language, which I like.
I mean, if you had to live with Ash, Brock, and Misty, would you choose to speak?
I do remember a Pokemon episode where it's like the main three starter Pokemon. It's like Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander, and Pikachu without any of the human characters, and it is them speaking with subtitles, and Pikachu trying to convince them to stay with Ash, while it's like Squirtle's like, no, we should fuck off us. Yeah, there is an entire episode. Yeah, there's like an entire episode where they do speak a language, even though they're all saying their names over and over again. They can understand each other. Yeah, and they're all
Meowth, who can speak English.
Yeah.
And Slow King as well. There's like a random Slow King that can speak English at one point who just stares at the sea. It's just all forlorn. Remember that?
No.
No, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Can Mewtwo speak English, or is it just that his thoughts?
It's his thoughts. It's his thoughts are being conveyed. I mean, that kind of brings into question something later on, which comes into a reading of this movie that I have, or a reading that we can just go on because fuck it.
All right, listen.
We've got plenty of time.
What happens next? What happens next?
They beat that Pokemon trainer, and then they go to like a Pokemon Center, like they always do. They go to a fucking Pokemon Center where all these, and it's a storm hits. That's caused by Mewtwo, right? Yeah. And then they go seek shelter in this Pokemon Center, and then the cops show up, and everyone's like, fuck the cops.
Did you guys peep this woman who's some kind of... I don't know what's going on with her, because there's the cop who's always there, the female cop.
Yeah.
One of the nurses has gone missing. But then there's this
Jenny?
random fucking... Yeah, Officer Jenny and Nurse Joy.
Yeah.
But then there's this random, like, I guess Transylvanian woman with blue hair.
Yeah.
Who's there like,
she owns
there is some kind of storm, but the Pokemon Masters, they're hot.
No, I'll tell you what that is. She sets up something that happens later on in the movie in the most ham-fisted way. She's like, there's a storm, it's made by evil, but they say that Pokemon tears, they can bring back people from the dead or whatever.
Yeah, the or whatever is in the movie. I don't know, whatever, it's for kids.
Yeah. So the cops tells all these Pokemon trainers, don't go out into the storm, you'll fucking die, and then they're just like, fuck the cops, a cab, and then they get on their Pokemons and swim across the sea.
Yeah, because then the Dracula has a monologue to Nurse, not the fucking cop, to Officer Jenny. She's like, the Pokemon Masters, that is what makes them better than normal people. Their hearts are filled with courage. And it's like some fucking Ayn Rand, Brad Bird shit coming out, where it's just like, some people are just better, okay?
Yeah,
some people
are better than society's laws.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to how many Pokemon trainers actually died on that voyage, because I'm sure they weren't the only ones.
Our heroes almost died. Our heroes almost died. They get onto...
That's true.
They didn't... Because they we don't have any water Pokemon like these guys, so we can't get across this ocean. Despite
Even
the
though
fact...
that's Misty's whole thing.
Despite the fact that Misty only has water-based Pokemon that she even uses later.
I mean, clearly Misty did not really want to go to this, because, I think the one little plot detail that we didn't mention there is that Mewtwo basically sends out all of these, holographic invitations to Pokemon trainers. So everyone gathers
Dragon Knight shows up and
ship port, whatever it is. So they all gather there to then cross the sea to Mewtwo's laboratory.
Wait, hang on. What's Dragon Knight? I thought it was a fat Charizard.
No.
It is. They deliver mail as well.
Yeah. So Dragonite is the one that looks like a Charizard, but isn't a Charizard. It's like a cutesy.
And evolves from Dragonair, which is this really graceful sea serpent style Pokemon and it turns into like the Homer Simpson of Pokemon.
Yeah,
it's very weird.
And it's delivered as like a
thinking
R2D2 kind of letter with a hologram.
Yeah.
It's like come.
I thought it was a fat
So that technology exists in the Pokemon universe, but we still have Pokemon send fucking physical letters.
Yeah, why not just? But like they have Pokedexes anyway.
Because there are slaves. Because
Email.
it's slavery, you know?
They even
like,
beat
they
that
get off on
Dragonite.
this.
They slapped that Dragonite with a frying pan.
That's true.
And it doesn't
Because
like it,
these people
tries to
have
keep
nothing
flying
but
into it.
contempt for the Pokemon that they are in their charge. They hate them. They want to abuse them.
This continues because, like, I mean, again, this is we. It sounds like we hovered on this, but if you have seen this film, you know that famously this is the theme of the film because they get to this they're told that there's this great Pokemon monster on this island through this hologram. The storm happens. They get to this island after almost drowning. After Team Rocket pretends to be a bunch of Vikings, which exist in the Pokemon universe for some reason.
Turns up pretending to be Vikings, as one does.
They show up to fucking Howl's Moving Castle, which is like, you know, Mewtwo's kind of fucking lair, and for some reason he's
psychically rebuilt apparently.
Yeah,
which I believe it's called the Pussy Palace.
Yeah, the Slam Chamber as he calls it.
Yes, the Stench Trench.
And he sends down one of his bitches to greet them. For some reason, Mewtwo's kidnapped a woman, and
he has.
Yeah, what is going on here? What has happened to this woman?
Yeah,
she's under mind control. But what makes it even weirder, right? Obviously, we as the audience know that it's Nurse Joy because we see a wanted poster earlier in the movie.
and one of the characters say that like she looks familiar.
Yeah, the only reason why anybody clocks that this is a missing woman is that Brock is such a fucking creep. He sees the missing persons poster and is like, "Oh, I fancy a bit of that." What?
Everyone
not okay.
Brock's on the Sigma male grind set. That is the Sigma male grind set right there.
Yeah, I do currently watch the news. I'd be like, oh, I'd have some of that. But the thing is, like, he's immediately like, oh, she looks familiar. Bro, she's like in every town you visit. There's a Nurse Joy.
Like,
you want to talk about cloning
in the Pokemon universe.
Yeah. Anyway, they get
some kind of weird, like, Pokemon healthcare eugenics happening that's just sort of being
there must
swept
always
under
be
the
a
rug.
Joy and a Jenny in any town.
Yeah, and why does nobody comment on this? Like,
I mean, they
if you
kind of
were to-
do, but they seem to forget every time. It's like, oh, I've met your sister. And they're like, sometimes the nurses go, huh? As if they don't know that they...
like Stepford wives or something.
Anyway, they're greeted by this in a very Dracula-esque way.
I now want to see like a Neon Genesis Evangelion style sequence where like Officer Jenny just goes down. There's like hundreds of like recursive versions of her just floating in the void.
One of them dies, and there's like another one wheeled out. Like,
yeah, it's as heartless as that. It's just fucking.
So sweeping through the rest of the plot, so they arrive.
No, we need
at
to get more
Mewtwo's
anime
island.
references in, Mark. We need to get more anime. references.
We have enough. We've had enough.
yeah. Get the ghost out of your
We've
shell,
mentioned
mate.
Evangelion. We can't go any further than that. For our
Cowboy
own sakes.
Bebop.
Yeah, okay, we'll allow that one. Way of
Gundam.
the House Husband. Claymore.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh my
Yes.
god, good show.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, they go to this and they realize the Pokemon trainer is actually Mewtwo, something that the audience, we already knew. And then he's like, fight me, fuckers. And they do. They lose. And then he's like, your Pokemon are now mine.
Hang on, I want to just zone in on something here. So, Mewtwo, because he's aware of the franchise existing, is like, I have 3 starter Pokemon.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
evolved them into their final forms. So he takes Bulbasaur and turns him into the big Bulbasaur. He has the Squirtle who's turned into the big tortoise thing with cannons.
Blastoise.
And he's turned Charmander into Charizard.
Hey, do one of them.
First
Everyone's
of all,
favourite.
there is a definite Gamera reference in this sequence when the big turtle-looking fucker spins round and turns into a shell to twat somebody. I was like, that's from Gamera. And my housemate looked at me as if I'd just screamed, I'm autistic, please judge me for it. So what I want to point out is, so the Pokemon trainers, they have one of each of these Pokemon themselves. So Ash's Charizard gets involved, and there's 2 random Pokemon trainers who are like, Big Bulbasaur, Big Squirtle, get involved. But the tactical mistake they make here, am I not correct here? They send the Blastoise against the Blastoise, the Big Bulbasaur against the Big Bulbasaur, and the Charizard against the Charizard.
Which is,
use the elements
stupid.
into your favour. I was surprised that Mewtwo went along with that. But he's just so confident. He's like, I've bred these to supremacy.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that in a second, because at one point, actually, I'll go to that fucking right now. At one point, he's so confident in his clone Pokemon. So he fights his Pokemon, and then he clones everyone's Pokemon, and he sends the clones to fight them. He's so confident that his Pokemon are superior that he takes away their powers, so everyone ends up having a slap fight instead of like...
No, that ruled. That was the one bit of the movie.
I don't know if you guys realise this upon watching it, but Mewtwo has a solid battle strategy that he uses on literally everybody, which is to just slam people into walls.
Yeah.
That's all he does, and it works every single time.
The thing is, the problem with Mewtwo, who thinks he's Mewtwo is a clone of an ancient Pokemon called Mew, and he thinks he's superior, just to cover up his insecurity for being a clone. But he's woefully under-ambitious. He keeps talking about taking over the world, but he needs to prove that he's the best Pokemon trainer in the world to some kids, I guess. And then, like,
some kids who barely made it to his lair in the first place.
Yeah. He has cloning technology.
Those other 2 Pokemon trainers, they've got their shit together. Like, they've got like Gyarados and fucking like all of these cool ass Pokemon, and Ash is just there like,
I got the 3 star. That's also another thing. Ash only has 3 starter Pokemon as well. Like. Mm-hmm. Like, he doesn't have one of each, so he's kind of a cheat anyway. I'm skipping ahead was kind of skipping ahead here, but what else happens in this movie? They show up and fight Mewtwo. He says, "I'm better than you," slams him up against some walls, and then he clones their Pokemon.
Mew
right?
rocks up.
Yes, that's it.
Right, because Mew
is, supposedly, one of, if not the most powerful Pokemon that is, at this point in the series, or at least in the time when we had Pokemon like that we knew of. And Mew's just like a benevolent creature. Like, it's just sort of, it's just happy
cute
to just chill at the bottom of lakes and stuff. And it's just a real, it's. I mean, personally, I think Mew's adorable, and its presence lights the movie up, in my opinion.
A little bit, but like, he doesn't really. The thing is, like, they have like these. This is one of the reasons I say he's like, Mew is a bit. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here, because like I made a note about this, because why I say these guys are really uncreative and unambitious is because Mew has like incredible psychic powers, but somehow this battle kind of reverts to is them turning into energy balls and slamming against each other over and over and over again. Like, at no point does his psychic powers ever fuck with people's heads. I mean, Pokemon don't tend to do that in this cartoon.
Do you know what it always makes me think of? Like, battles in movies always make me think of this. It always just makes me think of Big Trouble in Little China with the wizard's duel at the end, which is just reduced to rays of light and silhouettes of people having a bit of a scrap.
That's kind of how this
just
movie
really
goes.
Underwhelming as a magic fight.
Yeah, because they come in, he's like, I'm the true original. Don't you dare defy me. And Mew's kind of like, Mew, Mew, Mew. And then they, like, shoot lasers at each other for a bit. In the meanwhile, like, all of the clone Pokemon and the original Pokemon are slapping each other. And then we get the moistest fucking bit of cinema.
This scene is glistening. This scene is glistening with moisture.
It is. If I was involved in the production, especially the domestic version of this film, I would be embarrassed. Because firstly, like, Ash is like, after seeing Pikachu get kidnapped and rescuing him from a conveyor belt, he stood there, like, after being saved by Mew, on the edge of, like, a precipice, watching these Pokemon fight. And the fucking song that plays is, like, it's like how does it go? It's like, it's thinking about brotherhood, and how much you love your brother, and why are we fighting, and then it turns into, like, a slow motion, like, Saving Private Ryan moment, while everyone in all the, like, side characters, like Nurse Joy, who's been released from her Mewtwo spell, and Brock are all like, oh man, the horror.
Like, we're absolutely going to get a copyright strike for this, but here's the song.
Brother, my brother, tell me, what are we fighting for? We got to end this war. We should love one another. Oh, can't we just pretend this war never began?
Like, you know how sometimes you'll, when you get like a nostalgia and like that sort of warm nostalgic feeling when you're watching a film from like your childhood and stuff, and it's a real great thing that you don't really tend to get. This movie was giving me that, and then I heard that song, and then I had war flashbacks. Honestly, like, I had PTSD as a result of that fucking song. I forgot it even existed.
Oh, God.
And it took me and threw me through the ringer, and I just didn't quite recover afterwards. It's so fucking shit.
Oh, God. There's a
It's
word for
totally
that.
Shit.
Yeah, it's a what is it? Weltschmerz, the pain of the world when your fantasies don't match up with reality anymore. And I got that during this, because it's like, it's also people's the side character's reaction is like, oh, the horrors of what we do. Pokemon shouldn't fight, not like this. And it's like, what are you talking about? This entire franchise.
The entire purpose of this franchise.
Yeah, in fact, if anything,
it doesn't work, does it?
They're fighting for survival at this point. These Pokemon are fighting for their lives. Surely this is more ethically righteous than, oh, I've got to get a gym badge, so I'm going to teach this animal to bite the throat of this other animal or whatever.
No, I think what the movie's saying is that like Pokemon should fight but have no will of their own.
Yeah, absolutely,
They should be the slaves of humanity.
So, does anyone want to talk about the moment in this film where, like, seeing the horror of this battle, Ash tries to do something? He
Well, this is the most famous part of the film, isn't
Yeah,
it? Like, this is what everybody always talks about, and everybody always remembers and talks about how when they were a kid in the cinema, they like cried their eyes out and all this. Like,
yeah, the
I
Tinkerbell
didn't see this
moment,
movie in
right?
cinema, so like,
Stinkerbell moment. Ayo.
So, for those who don't know, Ash witnesses horror. At one point, tries to outright punch Mewtwo.
yeah, I wanted to flag that up because he just sort of gets rid of the entire pretense of, this organised blood sport that the rest of the whole world is just a part of, and just thinks, fuck it, do you know what, I'll just deck him.
Yeah, I'll have him up.
That's the only good thing Ash does in the entire franchise. He's like, I'm ready to fucking throw hands.
Yeah. And you see, like, he must have seen Mewtwo's testicular fingers, and I can have him.
There's a lot of weird sexual imagery going on.
I know,
with
like,
Mewtwo that I'm not a fan of.
Mewtwo can only be described as distressingly clitoral as a design choice.
He does look like a sentient clitoris. That's the thing.
And I think that's part of the theme of this film, man. Like, it's all about him trying to birth Pokemon, and like the first thing we get is him in the womb, and like it's all about him, not realizing he has no purpose, but Anyway, there's just this whole kind of.
Sorry, Abdul, are you trying to say that the clitoris has no purpose? Because that.
Well,
is that what you're saying, Abdul?
That's an astonishing
I'm saying
statement.
that's what Pokemon is saying, man. Like, it's saying that.
Yeah,
like,
okay, man, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen a clitoris before, so.
All right, well, we're in the DigiVerse, so we can just let you look at one now.
Google it.
I'll just type in clitoris.
Oh, it's bigger than I thought. Oh, it goes all the way up. There's a rare Pokemon.
Clitoris.
Who's that Pokemon?
Clitoris.
It's the clitoris. Is that the one? Isn't that the ghost one with the shell? With the oyster.
Oh, my mum listens to this podcast. We've just said clitoris like 100 times.
Anyway, what we're getting at before is that Ash dies. He tries after failing to punch Mewtwo. He's like, I'll try out this again, and just runs in the middle of a laser battle in order to stop them fighting, I guess.
Because apparently suicide is the way to peace.
Well, it is a Japanese series.
I see.
Yeah. So he kamikazes as Who's that Pokemon? It's Kamikaze.
The two new starter Pokemon, Kamikaze and Clitoris.
He immediately gets hit by 2 laser bolts and gets turned to stone, I guess.
Yeah, they don't explain that.
No. What happens next, guys? I want you guys to describe this. Aiden, you go. What happens next?
Alright, so listen. Ash gets turned into stone by magic. At this point, the emotional music swells, and all the gathered Pokemons, save for Mew and Mewtwo, who are aloof and godly, begin to cry. Pikachu starts, obviously, because he's a trifling ass little bitch.
Mm-hmm.
But and also an Uncle Tom. We don't talk about this enough when it comes to Pikachu. He is an Uncle Tom. We'll get to that. what was I saying? Oh yeah, all the Pokemon start to cry, and their tears rain down upon the petrified Ash, and the stone recedes, and Ash is brought back to life. So you remember earlier when that vampire told us that Pokemon tears can bring people back to life? ? Yeah, that was what that was setting up. The greatest Chekhov's gun in history. Pokemon, and this begs even more questions than it answers, right?
Because, doesn't it just? How many Pokemon does it take?
So Pokemon have had this power the entire time? So Pokemon are gods to us, essentially, but we've somehow enslaved them. Wait, this is Neo Genesis.
So yeah, he comes back to life, and Mew sees all these Pokemon. Love has brought this guy back to life, and he's like, damn, maybe like I should change my ways. This is wrong. I was wrong to make Pokemon fight. And they're like, oh, Mewtwo, you finally understand the meaning of life. He's like, yeah. Anyway, forget all of that. I'm going to make you forget this whole adventure, all the lessons you learned. Fuck it, throw it out the window, go back to your regular lives. And then they all go back to battling with Pokemon.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the film. Like, they're like, oh, well.
So not only was the movie shit, even on its own terms, it was pointless.
Yeah, because they just immediately go back to... No one's changed by this. Like, I guess Mewtwo is.
Yeah.
But, we don't see what happens. Him and Mew fly off, I guess, into the sky. And
I believe they come back. There's like another movie or something where they come back.
Yeah.
Like we talked about this off mic, but like of the three of us, I'm probably the one who's the most well versed in Pokemon.
The biggest
Pokemon
fan.
That's a stretch. Like
Pokemon
Gen 1 and
Stan.
Gen 2 were my shit. Gen 3 onwards kind of lost me. I've tried to get back into the series over the years, but it's really just not my thing anymore. And the games need to move on. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like I've said this before, like the Pokemon franchise, I mean, it's the audacity of a franchise to release a game twice at a time. There's always like two, and then they'll release it over and over again.
I mean, the Pokemon games are just like the FIFA of Japanese gaming, really, aren't
Absolutely.
they? Like, it's kind of the same thing over and over. So come at us in the comments, ye Pokemon fans.
I've not played a Pokemon game since the Game Boy Color because I'm 29 years old. I've got other things to do, all right? Than play fucking Pokemon. Grow up.
You like watching Godzilla movies?
Hey, Godzilla is base.
So one thing I did find out about this film, though, when I went to watch it for this episode, I wasn't aware that there's the Japanese version, which is longer. By about sort of 15 minutes or something like that, which gives Mewtwo some additional backstory at the start when he's like in the lab and he is surrounded by other Pokemon clones that he befriends, as well as this like resurrected dead girl called Amber.
That's like a big Japanese trope, isn't it?
Right. Say again, sorry?
That's like a big Japanese trope, isn't it? There's always like a clone girl of like the scientist, like it's the Astro Boy thing. It's like the scientist who lost their son and they cloned
like in
them.
Godzilla versus Biollante.
Yeah, the best Godzilla movie, actually.
Oh, spicy words, but
Yeah.
I'm inclined to probably agree.
Come at me, Kaiju fans.
So, because this little girl, whose name is Amber, is a clone by the sounds of things, Mewtwo refers to her as Amber 2. Because, of course, like, they're going to keep up that naming scheme. But then, according to this plot description, because I haven't seen the Japanese version, I will just make, to the listeners as well, I haven't actually seen it. So, the other Pokemon clones and Amber, by the sounds of things, all decompose and die in front of Mewtwo.
No, that's metal!
Leaves him deeply traumatized, which kind of explains more why he's like, do you know what? Humans, bit fucking shit, really. Let's kill them.
Oh, so it doesn't happen at the end?
No, it's the beginning. So there's because I read about that before I watched it for this episode. I did notice there's a really jarring cut at the beginning because when you first start the film and you've got Mewtwo like asking those sort of like existential questions, it then kind of hard cuts and then he says them again and then it's him talking to the scientist and then he breaks out.
Oh, so this backstory is even before that, like
yeah,
okay,
it's at the start of the movie.
That's very interesting.
Okay.
So the first like sort of 15-20 minutes of the movie are like setting Mewtwo up entirely. Like Ash and that don't appear until around the sort of 25-minute, half an hour mark.
That's interesting. We should talk a little bit about Mewtwo because I mean you guys probably know Pokemon slightly better than I do at this point. But I did see Detective Pikachu.
I haven't seen that.
It's not strong.
I mean, it is what it is. Like, that's my take on Detective Pikachu.
I mean, I thought it was dire, but, you know, it is what it is.
I thought it was fine for what it is. It's a kid's movie about a Detective Pikachu. But the point I was going to make is this. Mewtwo features heavily in that movie as well. And they basically do retread, like, the laboratory escape sequence. Like, that's the opening of Detective Pikachu.
Oh, doesn't Bill Nye live in the body of a Mewtwo or something?
Yeah, he puts his consciousness into Mewtwo, so Mewtwo flies around with the voice of Bill Nye.
And Mewtwo puts Ryan Reynolds into Pikachu as well, so he's like the...
I have to say that I saw Detective Pikachu in the cinema, and I felt sorry for the families and parents and kids and all that were sat near us, because when Mewtwo started talking with Bill Nye's fucking voice, I literally cry-laughed for about 5 straight minutes, clearly interrupting everybody else in the cinema.
No, that's the best part of the movie.
Funniest fucking thing I'd ever seen. I mean, the movie is still crap, but my god, I was in actual pain from that scene.
I've got a fun fact about that. I read, I think it's a Guardian or like a independent article that's like an interview with like Bill Nye, and like they talk about a moment where he invites him down to their basement, and he's got like a full-size statue of Mewtwo in his basement. Now that he's really proud of. He's like, hey. He's like, do you want to see my Mewtwo?
He's like super into Pokemon. I read that article too. It's so funny. Like, he didn't know anything about it before he was in the movie, but now he's like a stan.
That's kind of like how...
Which is amazing.
That's kind of like how when I found out that Patrick Stewart is a massive Beavis and Butthead fan.
That rules.
Did you not know about this?
That's
like,
Chad.
I think it was on the Graham Norton
absolute
show or something.
legend.
He got asked about it, and he was just like, I just think they're brilliant. And then he kind of bats around the idea of him and Ian McKellen playing them on stage, and I'm like, I would give all of my organs to see Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen do Beavis and Butthead on stage. Give me that.
Ridley Scott's also a big
Beavis and Butthead are brilliant. I haven't seen the new movie yet, though. I don't know if either of you guys have.
No,
I haven't. Anyway, we're not reviewing Beavis and Butthead here. I just thought it was a fun story.
Not yet, we're not.
Tune in, fuckers!
So listen, so this film, I mean, have we done it justice? I feel like we've just been screaming, but...
I think we've done it better.
I want to say yes, but I feel like the small group of listeners that we have that are actually excited about hearing us discuss Pokemon the first movie have probably already switched off, so who gives a fuck?
First of all, if you're excited about any episode of Kino Inferno, you need to go outside and make love to somebody. Second of all...
Whilst listening to Kino Inferno.
Yeah, preferably whilst listening to us. With long episodes, so, you just saying.
Good luck.
And ladies, if he can't last a full Kino Inferno, he ain't worth marrying.
I mean, well, I was going to say that you've got time. The standard episode's about 2 hours long, so you've got time to do it. Oh, about 120 times.
You can have a break, do some knitting.
No, anyway, that aside. So, yeah, we should speak to why this movie is such a nostalgic thing, right? Like, obviously, we've touched a little bit on Pokemania, which we all lived through. Some generations get like Elvis Mania, Beatles Mania, all this kind of stuff. For our generation,
survived Pokemania.
It was this pre-processed crap that was taken from Japan and sold to us by shysters. Let's call it what it is.
And we fell for it.
We fell for it.
Was it Hasbro and 4Kids and stuff?
I was going to say Saban, but he's not getting involved until a little bit later on.
No, we'll get to that in a second. Get to that shyster in a second.
A true scumbag. There, I said.
Well, I think it's kind of easy to see why this is so this is such nostalgia for people. I'll just do it again. I think it's easy to see why people are so nostalgic for this movie. Like, this came out at like the height of Pokemania. Like, this was a big fucking deal. Like, comparing it to something that we spoke about recently, this would be like the equivalent in our lifetime of having like Tim Burton's Batman or Batman Returns come out. Like, those were huge fucking movies, and like, people were just so hyped for them. And like with this movie as well, like, not only was the movie coming out, but they had all the toys for it, they had all the merchandise for it. Like, the TV series was on every fucking day.
Yeah, if you bought a ticket to this movie, you got a little free like a special edition Mew card.
You got a Mewtwo card when you bought the VHS, because I still have mine. I've actually still got a small binder of my Pokemon cards from when I was a kid I found recently. And I've still got my Mewtwo
Yeah, you framed them, right? It's right above your
you
bed.
can see them now, Mark.
It's just below the mirror that I have on my ceiling, yeah, you're right.
And the sex swing.
The sex swing in the shape of Pikachu's head.
I do call my dick on it. But moving swiftly on, it is made of bronze.
I call mine Clefairy.
I don't know any of their names enough to do a good joke. Sorry.
Yeah. Unknown.
No, I think Slowpoke is the best one you could call your penis.
Muck.
Well, what is muck backwards?
Say no more. Say no more.
Come. It's come, Muck. Ooh,
and we know that a lot of Pokemon
bastard.
in the Pokemon universe, they have their names made from taking a real-life animal or substance, in Muck's case, and spelling it backwards, because Arbok and Ekans, for example. That fell on deaf ears.
Sorry, I just
kind of went,
Oh, mate.
Just listen. I'll say this about Pokemania.
Sorry,
right?
I just felt my hymen grow back there. Cheers, guys.
I'm glad if you like Pokemon, whatever, man. Everyone's, who cares about having a personality?
No, you shouldn't like Pokemon. Fuck you.
Like it's fine. It's just the thing is like
better things.
Going back to
better things.
I'd like to point out that we're doing a film podcast and Aiden's sat here wearing a Pulp Fiction shirt.
Yeah, well,
Fucking cliche.
I'm cosplaying as myself.
I mean, say what you will, but Pulp Fiction's better than Pokemon. That's not even.
Yeah, I don't know what you're trying to say there, mate. Like, you're dissing Pokemon, but you like Pulp Fiction.
I don't know what I was trying to say. I'm just trying to add further fuel to this dumpster fire of an episode that we're doing.
I'll just wrap up my thoughts on why I think this was successful at the time. I mean, I know a lot of people this is their first experience going to the cinema, but I think people want to feel they're participating in something. When you're a child, you want to feel like if you didn't have a Pokemon card or you didn't have a video get into the Pokemon world, you were kind of ostracized in a certain way from all the experiences people have of trading and it does. I think there is some value to that. It teaches people's particularly the living trading card games and the battling aspect of it. It's like a social lubricant for children. It did, however, is unfortunately part of this giant capitalistic machine that gets people addicted to buying stuff. And the problem with this film is that it's got lip service to having substance, right? But ultimately is just used to fuel that same capitalist machine. It's just made to have kids buy more of this crap. Hence why they were giving out free Pokemon cards when they did. If you don't go see the Pokemon movie, you won't get that shiny Mewtwo. Or shiny Mew, isn't it? I
think that's the thing as well.
I got Mewtwo with the VHS. But I mean,
when you say it pays lip service, I think you're right there, because there's this that's the problem with this movie, is that it ends with them literally going, oh, forget any lessons that you might have learned from this film, and just continue with franchise. And have franchise be the same as it was prior to this movie.
Well, that's very common, isn't it? Within anime movies, they tend to be very much disconnected from the actual narrative. They're very inconsequential, and they can be.
Oh, you mean anime sequel movies or ones that?
Yeah, they're adjacent to the plot. It's look at the all of the Dragon Ball Z movies, for example. They are plot adjacent.
Oh, when are we going to look at those movies, guys?
I'm just saying, we have to talk about Fusion Reborn, because I have to talk about the fact that Goten and Trunks fight Hitler. That's something that we actually have to talk about. Because I don't think enough people talk
about
that.
Blonde hair and blue eyes, I should be recruiting them.
This isn't the Dragon Ball Z podcast.
Welcome to my Dragon Ball Z podcast.
Now, Dragon Ball Z,
where I punish Mark and Aiden for once. I mean it's kind of problem with the stuff. I mean, this is why I brought up the Transformers movie earlier, because that was a similar thing, right? It's like this corporate mandated thing to clear one line of toys and bring in another, and the franchise doesn't get to seem to change. I mean, not to tie it with it's kind of a problem with any kind of status quo thing that has to continue onwards. They're not allowed to make any real change. Hence why, this movie doesn't. How are they supposed to
Marvel? Sorry, just frog in my throat there.
I felt the spirit of Martin Scorsese.
What do you think Martin Scorsese would make of this?
Sorry, he's still alive.
What do you think? Do you think Martin Scorsese would like this film?
Yes.
The Pokemon picture. Now that's a movie.
Now that's a movie. You want to talk about cinema? There's a film.
The Mewtwo, he asks existential questions.
It's kind of like when I made Silence.
These are terrible Martin Scorsese impressions.
Also, have any of you guys ever seen Silence? That is one of the biggest slogs of a fucking film I've ever sat through.
I like it.
Cool.
It's fucking boring, that film. But we're not. This is not the Martin Scorsese.
Speaking of fucking boring, yeah. Speaking of fucking boring, should we wrap up on the Pokemon?
Yeah, listen. Should we go Kino or Inferno on this motherfucker? Let's start with Abdul because he's the guest and he's currently shirtless.
He is actually.
Yeah. I mean, this is what you do in the digital realm. You don't need to wear clothes, guys. Join me.
Take off your Pulp Fiction shirt.
Shut up! Take off your Pikachu onesie.
Never.
Yeah, it's gonna be an Inferno for me, guys. This is like I actually kind of found some mild amusement at the beginning of the film, oh man, this is kind of a bit of a nostalgia trip. But honestly, it's like sub 90 minutes. That fucking ending is a real slog. Like especially, it's actually when the Pokemon battle starts. I'll tell you when this movie drops off. It's when Ash comes out of the convent. Like, cause there's actually one for a show about fighting Pokemon. There's only one decent action sequence in this whole film, and it's when Ash is like trying to chase Pokeballs down like slides and stairs, and he's being grabbed at by.
Yeah, the only good action scene in the movie does not actually involve Pokemon fighting. Yeah.
Exactly, it's like a giant Rube Goldberg machine. It's only plates of interesting animation. It's actually kind of like you guys talked about what's it called, Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, the machinery kind of has that quality to it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't think there's much here to like go on, especially if you don't into Pokemon. Even as someone who is like mildly amused by Pokemon when I was a child, I didn't find much to grab onto here. So yeah, I'm kicking this one into the fire, lads.
Okay, what about you, Mark?
So, I did get some like nostalgic enjoyment out of seeing this because it has been a long time since I've seen it, and I was quite into Pokemon when I was younger. I can't in all good consciousness give this Kino because it's just no way in any way deserving of that title, and I'm not going to be a contrarian. And it's got to go in the Inferno because even though I did get some enjoyment out of this, and it's got little things in it that I do like. Because I think I think Team Rocket pretending to be Vikings is fucking hilarious. It really is. It really.
Be honest, Mark. You kind of want to give this Kino, don't you? You fucking
only to get on both of your nerves. That's the only reason I want to do it. But no, I genuinely can't.
You fucking liked it.
Admit, even with the slivers of enjoyment that I did get out of this, it was fucking dragging towards the end. Like I was like, can Mew and Mewtwo just fucking make up and leave already? Because I remembered how
you didn't even watch Pikachu's Vacation. So
no, you're right. I did.
You had it.
I watched the short for the next film we're talking about. I watched that, and that's a solid 3.5 minutes. I was like, yeah, okay, let's do Pikachu's
And that's
Vacation.
all we're going to talk about, by the way.
And I went, like, I finished watching that one and went, hey, Pikachu's Adventure, 20 minutes. Absolutely fucking not. Like, I've already spent enough time going back to the Pokemon movie. Yeah, it's an Inferno from me. It's a nice little bit of nostalgia, but ultimately, it is a bit shit.
Okay. I'm going to step up to Mike and give my rating. I've got a little bit of blurb. So strap in. So watching this, and bearing in mind I consider Pikachu's Vacation to be part of the runtime, so watching the full experience, sort of 90 to 100 minutes or something like this. First of all, Pikachu's Vacation is a uniquely awful experience, as I alluded to earlier. It's not only annoying because the dialogue is just Pokemon saying their own names over and over again. There's also these jarring cuts to these like interstitial animations of the different Pokemon having a little dance or whatever, having a little swim. And then it cuts back to, the action. But instead of using these scenes transitions to transition the scene, it often happens midway through a scene and then just cuts back to the same scene, which gives the effect of the Pokemon universe boring its way into your skull and out the other side of your brain. So bear in mind I was not in the best frame of mind by the time the Mewtwo film started. And it didn't really improve from there. And I guess what I'm going to say about this is nostalgia, if we have any message on this episode, nostalgia is a cancer that slowly eats away at you. To be obsessed with the past is to not be able to move forward. And indeed, many of our worst instincts come from an over-reverence of the past. Look at fascism, for example, harking back to a past that never existed. And all I'm saying is, Pokemon should be considered a war crime. It's going in the Inferno for me.
That was exquisite. I really enjoyed that.
So that was Aidan Barker-Dean likening Pokemon to the rise of fascism.
I'm just saying, it all comes from the same place. It all comes from the same place. Let it go.
What, Japan?
Move on.
Well, Italy.
Well, what side were Japan on in the war? I rest my case.
I think they're in the bottom hemisphere, weren't they?
Abdul's doing one of his brilliant jokes. Remember
It's a geography joke,
in the last episode
everybody.
he was on where he did a pun on Titan AE and Titane. That was good.
Yeah,
I
quality.
still want a little peek behind the curtain for the viewers. I just want everyone to know that when we were sort of sharing the files between us for the audio for the Titan AE episode, it would often just circulate as Titan Ass Eaters. I just want people to know that. And before we move on to the next movie, I do just want to quickly defend my decision to not watch Pikachu's Vacation. I happen to have Pokemon the first movie on Blu-ray because I was gifted it alongside the second and third movies as well.
Because you bought it with your hard-earned money. You gifted it to yourself.
No comment. But no, I have the Blu-ray, and it's this really nice steelbook. It looks really nice on my shelf. And I popped the Blu-ray in, and all it had on the menu was play film scene selection. So Pikachu's Vacation wasn't even included on this fucking Blu-ray. The cheapskate cunts to not actually include an additional 20 minutes of content in this little fucking steelbook. I don't know, that boils my piss more than it should.
You know, I think what you did is you missed the like if you glided you glided your cursor down. There's like a secret. I've read this. There's like a secret option on that DVD menu, and it says "kill yourself." That's the option you should have clicked.
God, do you remember when DVD menus had secrets and puzzles and shit? Like,
oh mate, do you have what the Grinch DVD had like video games? Had
the
games
worst
on it.
one, right? Okay, I used to have The Fifth Element on DVD, right? And the menu is the flying taxi cabs going through the city, and the taxi goes past like play movie scene. So you have to sit and wait for it to go past the relevant option for you to be able to. Oh, obviously, mate, fucking.
That's a basement. That's what that's the kind of bravery we should have had in Pokemon the movie instead of watch the movie, watch a different part of the movie. Fuck Pikachu's Big Adventure, or whatever the fuck it's called.
So Pokemon, the first movie, is consigned to the flames, and
enthusiastically.
Let Charizard.
I want to say enthusiastically consigned to the flames.
Yeah,
fuck this shit.
Like, to all you people out there that still love Pokemon, like, you've got to admit...
No, fuck this. Fuck this, like, 30-year fucking monopoly that we're all supposed to fucking feel like, oh, warm and fuzzy about. Oh. It's just a capitalist monopoly like any other. And they just sell you your nostalgia back to you. You're an idiot if you like this.
Twice at a time. I cannot, like, prestige that. Like, I cannot, like, belabor this more. They sell you 2 games at a time. And it's the same game year round, twice at a time. You'll buy Pokemon Blue. It's the same fucking game.
Like, before we move on quickly, just also acknowledge that they remade this movie recently
in CGI.
Yeah, in CG.
Yeah, because
worse.
Apparently they weren't content to sell you this movie just once, much like the games.
No.
Bro, that's just Nintendo all over. Nintendo's, I'll say this, like everyone's like remembers Nintendo as this cutie fuck. It's a shyster company. It's a shyster company run by shysters. All they do is like peddle the same shit over and over again.
I love Nintendo's products, but very begrudgingly.
Given all the like Mario and Super Smash Bros. References in this very podcast, we're on thin ice here, boys.
Yeah. This is fuck Nintendo from the Donkey Kong the movie podcasting.
I guess that's why we're like we're the villains, right? We're the villains, so we can say
yeah. We are the powerfully bisexual Nintendo villains, yeah.
Yeah, apart from Donkey Kong, he's pure straight, man.
Is he? I don't know about
that. He's pretty...
That makes it sound like I'm a turf.
Yeah, Donkey Kong has some views, alright?
Donkey Kong is super straight.
You know what? He's okay, but don't get him talking about the LGBT community. It's worrying.
So, with that out of the way, let's talk about a significantly worse film.
I thought we were talking about Digimon next.
Disagree.
Roll the fucking footage.
On October 6th...
Ty, what's happening?
A digivirus will infect the internet.
Diaboromon?
And wage the ultimate battle.
You'll never stop me.
Fox Kids presents...
Is this information superhighway ever rest stop? I've gotta go potty! Just hold it!
An adventure too big for television.
Watch out!
where a new team of Digidestined will unite.
It's all up to you, Digidestined.
With stronger, more powerful Digivolutions.
The Digimon are combining as one! They're Digivolving together!
So, Digimon the movie came out in 2000 or something. Was directed by somebody. And stars a bunch of digital monsters and their human friends. So the basic plot of the Western version of this is it's a Frankenstein movie compiled from 3 actual Digimon short films and an Angela Anaconda short. We'll get there. But yeah, this is kind of an anthology film. The first section follows Tai and his sister, whose name may well be Kari. They meet a Digimon.
It is Kari.
Who starts off as a little ball thing and turns into a big dinosaur thing and then a bigger dinosaur thing. And it beats up a giant parrot thing and everyone's like, what the hell, bro? Cut forward several years to a section of the film which takes place after the series. So if you're not familiar with Digimon, this whole thing will be baffling to you anyway. But the long and short of it is, a nasty computer virus Digimon gets into the internet. And this is, dial-up internet. Gets in there, starts messing things about, starts chucking nukes around and all the rest of it. The good Digimon have to stop him. They eventually do. That's the plot of that one. The third one introduces a new group of teenagers and their friends who are also digital monsters. Although actually, there's 2 characters who come over from the original series, but they're now teenagers. Don't worry about it. There is something to do with... the computer virus turns into some wind and somehow gets into a different Digimon, turning them evil. They have to bring him back to the good side. There's also some kid called Willis who's also there. Not really sure what was going on in this section. I'll be real with you. At this point, I had kind of stopped paying attention and was mostly doom scrolling until the movie ended. So that's my summary of Digimon the movie.
It's probably about as good as a summary as I could manage because I'm kind of with you, man. This film lost me towards the end. It was kind of a slog. It was a Silence level slog.
But listen,
in my opinion.
Well, Silence is an amazing film, Mark. But listen, it's kind of amazing to me that that you gave Mark shit for saying that Pokemon movie came out at some point, but you were just Digimon movie came out in 2000 and something, I think.
Okay, listen. I know that it came out in 2000, and I know it was directed by a guy called Mamoru Ohada. I think I'm saying that right.
At least one of them is.
Hang on, let me see. Look, I was just lampooning Mark.
Oh yeah, definitely, sure, absolutely.
I know all about Digimon the movie.
So before we go on about this, should we talk a little bit? Before we get to the finish, should we talk about what Digimon is?
Sorry, Mamoru Hosoda. I said that right.
Yeah, I feel like we should talk about what Digimon is because I'm honestly not sure. I never really watched it as a kid.
Well, as the theme tune tells you, I'll stop you there, Mark. No one's interested. Now's time for the Digimon talk. As the theme tune tells you, Digimon
Pulp Fiction shirt. This is what I get.
Digimon are digital monsters. They hail from the digital world, or as we know it here in the future, the internet, kind of. Because the digital world, whilst it does exist within a realm of shared computers, it is also a tactile, physical world. It's essentially an alternate dimension that one can travel to using technology. Now,
people mostly just use it for porn.
Yes.
Yeah, and the Digimon are no different, by the way. These are some horny beasts. But listen,
they kind of are in this film. I'll get to that.
We'll get there. If this story, if this kind of element, this world building doesn't make any sense to you, that's probably because Digimon started life as an attempt to get boys into Tamagotchi-style products. Because in Japan, Bandai, the company that makes pretty much any toy that you've heard of that came from Japan, but Tamagotchi in particular, they felt that Tamagotchi was a feminine product. I don't mean that Japanese teenagers were using them
as in like tampons. A sanitary product.
Yeah. I mean that it was seen as like, it was like Barbie. It's like for girls, right?
Yeah,
for girls in quotations.
Which is interesting because they were a completely unisex toy over here, weren't they?
Like, right.
No, but they were marketed more to girls because it was pink and like other like colours. But
like I had a Tamagotchi. It was red. But
and look how you turned out.
Yeah, I'm now a woman. So that's not true, by the way. I realise we've probably got some transgender listeners who just went, "Oh my god, that's not true." Okay, I'm sorry, that was just a joke.
He sometimes tucks it between his legs and shows me, but that's about as far as that goes.
Not since our university days. I used to drink
fuck me, Mark?
a lot.
I'd fuck me.
Anyway, yeah. So the point is this:
it was about that.
Digimon. So it starts life as this Tamagotchi knockoff, but the idea is we're going to sell it to boys, and that's why all these creatures are like super buff and they have like guns for dicks and stuff. Like that's what's going on with Digimon. But that aside, because that was just a boring ramble that anyone could have got off of Wikipedia, what I want to pick you guys' brains about, and what I think the audience is on tenterhooks for us to talk about, because anyone who remembers this movie remembers one blight on their childhood, which it goes by many names, but it is Angela Anaconda. Let's talk about it, because this movie also starts with an animated short, or at least it used to. The versions you can find now don't have this, but if you look up the runtime on Wikipedia, the runtime still includes the 5 minutes of Angela Anaconda.
It's part of the film. Like it is part
of the film, because I had the VHS and Angela Anaconda was at the start, and then it transitions into the opening.
If I remember correctly, it doesn't even have like an advertisement. This is like with the Pokemon movie, when you got releases of it, like it would say featuring a new Pikachu adventure, which that Pikachu adventure, by the way, was clearly ripped from TV. Hence why all those Pokemon playing around ad break stuff.
Well, so was this. I don't know if you knew this about the Angela Anaconda short. It is actually comprised of footage from an episode of Angela Anaconda.
From an episode
when she goes to a different cinema thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's just they redubbed it to use Digimon themed dialogue,
and in her fantasy sequence they add in some anime-esque elements, right?
Yeah.
Although I want to say whoever makes Angela Anaconda, or whoever made it, is obviously long since cancelled. Whoever made Angela Anaconda clearly has never seen an episode of Digimon in their life.
No,
because we should say, because if people don't know what Angela Anaconda is, they're going to be very confused. But basically, it's a French-Canadian cartoon with a horrifying art style about a young psychopath girl who just sort of goes about her day-to-day life and has violent revenge fantasies about her. Her name's Angela Anaconda, hence the title. And her rival is Ninette Manoir, who is a faux French girl who she hates and has violent revenge fantasies about. So that's the general gist of Angela Anaconda as a concept, as a thing. It's about a little psychopath who hates a French girl, or a girl who pretends to be French. The important thing to note is that it was owned by Fox Kids, who also owned I almost said the Disney-fied, that's not quite right, the Americanized version of Digimon. So this is clearly an ill-advised attempt at cross-promotion. But digging into this a little bit, so we should say, so there's this 5-minute short that precedes the Digimon movie, which is just Angela and her friends go to the cinema, events occur, Ninette Manoir tries to block Angela's view by using the teacher. Angela has a deranged fantasy which resembles Ultraman more than it resembles Digimon. Just throwing that out there. And then they realise they're in the wrong film and go away to watch Digimon. But then Angela appears in the film that Ninette Manoir is watching somehow, presumably because Ninette is in a living nightmare at all times. And then it transitions to the Fox logo and Digimon begins. But what I learned from doing a little bit of digging is that you're quite right to say that this short film was not advertised as being part of the Digimon movie. despite the fact it very clearly is. And people were like, in America especially, violently responded to this. Like, there were complaints. There were people like leaving cinema screenings and coming up to the ushers and stuff and being like, "We're in the wrong movie. What the fuck is this?" Like, my kids had to see Digimon. There's a famous thing that went around Reddit about how
Yes,
Anaconda short.
It's 4chan, not even Reddit. It's
4chan, yeah.
I think I know what you're alluding to.
Yeah, where this guy he claims that the Angela Anaconda short, which he didn't realise was part of the Digimon movie, so he thought it was in the wrong film, and he started crying. Basically, it was the straw that broke the camel's back of his parents' divorce. And if you can track down that story, it's well worth a read, because that is the legacy of Angela
Digimon
Anaconda.
ruined my parents' marriage, or something is called the post. Yeah.
But the thing that's funny about all this is that to our American listeners, of whom there are 5s, they probably vaguely remember Angela Anaconda if they're our age, right? Because it was something that it played over there, but it was cancelled and it was a bit weird, and everyone's attitude towards it was like, what's this weird Canadian thing? Come to find out, because when we pitched this episode, to Abdel, I mentioned the Angela Anaconda short, and he was like, I remember that shit. I mentioned it to Mark, and he was like, I remember that shit, as in Angela Anaconda in general. It turns out Angela Anaconda was actually massive for like a 3-year stretch in the United Kingdom. Like, the vast majority of their merchandise sales were right here in good old Blighty. For some reason, we loved this shit.
Do you know what? And as a kid, I watched it all the time. I remember distinctly watching
I think I've seen every single episode.
Do you know why? It's because they somehow, I don't know why, they wrangled a primetime spot. Like, it was like it was the first thing you'd watch after school. It was like a 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock show. And they would play 2 episodes at a time. So I've noticed, like, because I don't remember anything of quality from the show. Like, it was just like... But because of my access to TV was, like, pirated, I watched... It's so fun because, like, Fox Kids I had for a while and then it was removed, I guess. I don't know why, but from the channels I had access to. So I watched more Angela Anaconda than I actually watched any of the Digimon show.
Could I just quickly ask... If I remember correctly, Angela Anaconda wasn't on Fox Kids in this country, was it?
No, it was on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, I thought
Angela Anaconda was on Cartoon Network, but Digimon was on Fox Kids. So,
for those of us who lived in the arse end of nowhere, they were both on CITV, so put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Oh, we had a history lesson about the Dark Ages there, Abdel.
And obviously, only one man in the village had access to a television, and
we all huddled around it while we ate sand.
I'll tell you a tale of Angela Anaconda.
Here, what are those fucking sailor sweets? Shipyard, have a shipyard sweet.
Fisherman's friend.
Yeah, that's it.
Someone we know apparently owns a vast stock of Fisherman's Friend, but we'll talk about that off mic.
A stock as in literally has piled them up, or...
No, like owns shares of Fisherman's Friend, or their family does.
Are Fisherman's Friends, like, particularly lucrative? Like, why?
Well, I don't know.
On those things you piss on urinals.
That's a urinal cake.
That's a urinal cake. Fisherman's Friend.
I imagine that's what a Fisherman's Friend tastes like, right?
Probably.
Is it just me, right? Or does a Fisherman's Friend sound like a sex act?
Yeah, I think that's like a
fucking a
polo,
fish.
I think. But it's like medicinal, I think, like it's for if you've got a sore throat.
No,
they're menthol sweets.
Yeah, it's like a cough sweet. Yeah, it's a cough sweet. But it's like one of those times where, you know, like in olden times in the Old West, all people ate was licorice and mints because they thought that was a treat. Truly dark times. Anyway, speaking of truly dark times, the Digimon movie.
Hey, this was not a dark time. This came out in a pre-9/11 world, and I think we all
where
know
everyone thought
how
the
it
internet
shows.
was the...
I mean, isn't this just an entire movie about that, like, Y2K bug? Is that essentially what this is supposed to be?
Kinda. So you explained the plot proper, but like the 3 segments. So the concept of Digimon is they're kind of like Pokemon, but in the universe, the plot of the series, so to speak, is a bunch of teenagers and kids get sucked into the internet and in a world where Digimon exist, and they all get like
the digital world. please.
The digital world, yeah. And they all meet like these little creatures. They each have a creature called a Digimon, and unlike Pokemon, they do speak English. They have deep connections with their part. They're not called masters. They're called digidestins because they're destined to save the digital world. The first part of this film takes what beforehand when the lead Tai and one of his sisters, two digidestins named Tai and Kari. Yeah. In the Japanese version I watched, it was his name was Taichi and her name was Hikari because I guess they're afraid American audiences will be put off by the Japanese. Despite the fact it actually takes place in Japan. They actually kept it in Japan in this version.
Because they travel to America in the movie.
Yeah. Anyway, that's where the first movie takes before the series, and then the second part takes after the series. So they've left the digital world. They're trying to go back to their normal lives. The concept of Digimon itself, like even though it started off as Tamagotchi, the series is kind of especially these films are very 2000s in the sense that it's obsessed with the internet, it's obsessed with dial-up modems, and it's obsessed with hacking and it's actually you know what, like let's get into what we think of the quality of these films because
excellent. No notes. Perfect cinema.
There's a vibe to these films that I kind of felt the series itself is kind of like the TV series itself is kind of like more like the Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh.
I'd actually kind of put. I'd liken it more to Yu-Gi-Oh as a series. I watched every episode of the original run of Digimon as a child. It is kind of because like Pokemon pretty much from what I remember stays on the
same thing every episode. Yeah.
Whereas Digimon is kind of that more traditional anime thing of like there's 10 episode arcs or whatever. So like the first one is like the all.
Yeah, I mean there's a status quo obviously.
Yeah, but it's kind of like a status quo that shifts over time because like. I mean, I'm doing this from a memory of almost like 20 odd years ago, but like it kind of starts off being about like, oh, we've met these Digimon and they all need to digivolve into the next form, and then it's like a villain comes along and then they have to fight him, and that's kind of the rinse and repeat of the cycle.
And some of the stuff is challenged about what's a good Digimon and what's a bad Digimon, because I remember there's like a Black War Greymon and and there's like a couple of villains that become heroes and standard anime stuff, but still standard children's anime stuff.
Okay, that's good
but the movies themselves.
Because I never watched Digimon. I'm so clueless about Digimon. To the point where I was watching this and then like the Digimon started evolving and then they evolved back or devolved.
Yeah, so
I was like my Pokemon addled brain was like, that's not how things work. And it really threw me.
None of this is how evolution works, but let's if you believe in such things.
I was going to say we don't subscribe to that theory at Kino Inferno.
Yeah. Read your Quran. Anyway, The thing I was going to say was that like it's important to note that so Digimon started off as Tamagotchi, but the next thing after the Tamagotchi thing I found out was Digimon World, which is a PS1 game that a lot of people have good memories on. And the difference between that is kind of similar to Pokemon. The concept is like an RPG where depending on how you raise your Digimon, they'll turn into different creatures. Like in this, like Agumon turns into Greymon, turns into a Metal Greymon. But if you played the video game Digimon World, he can turn into like a rhino creature or a dog creature, or they'll die. It's like a big.
It's like nature versus nurture.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never played that game. I'm aware of its like legacy and I'm aware of how like beloved it is. The only thing that I really know about it is I've seen the screen cap where you can go to a farm where they grow meat, as in like meat on the bone grows from the soil.
That's a feature of the Digimon universe.
Why?
The digital world doesn't play by your rules. I mean, you may well ask.
There's like
why in a digital world do you need to grow crops at all? You may well ask.
So many questions asked. Like who's Genai? Anyway, I'll get to that. That's what Digimon are like in that game, but eventually the anime series is like they're like power-ups. They evolve permanently to one thing, but they can temporarily hack their way into.
But they can also be de-evolved if they get damaged too much. So like the little orange dinosaur-looking cunt, Agumon. He kind of stays at that level most of the time. That's like his base characteristic.
Yeah, I recognise him as like a character.
But if he gets damaged too much, he will de-evolve back into the little pink blob. To heal, basically.
Okay.
So basically, you train to find a more permanent, stronger form.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. The fact that they talk through me because I didn't recall that at all.
Yeah, they have fully personalities. At least
chatty.
eventually they do.
Like a little too chatty for my taste. Like the Pokemon, at least, you know, they'll pipe up for a little bit and then they'll get slapped straight back down again.
Well, we'll get into the balance of the second one. I think the first one's quite interesting. The first chapter, the second chapter of the Angela Conda Fury, it's kind of an interesting thing. So the first story is a bit
after
of like...
the prequel, the prologue that is Angela.
After the best part of this movie. Continue.
After that epic preamble, there's the first chapter is kind of like I actually kind of, I vibed with it a little bit. Because it's kind of like a cutesy little, it's a bit Spielbergian, it's a bit kaiju-esque. It's like, so the story is like a young Tai and Kari, they live with their mother, and it's the films that, as it were, all three are, all chapters are narrated by Kari, because she spans all of those chapters. The 2 chapters of the film. The 3 chapters, sorry, she's in all 3 chapters.
So she narrates the whole movie.
Yeah. So she's saying that it tells about when she first met a Digimon, and it starts in media res with like 2 giant Digimon fighting in the city. Now, when in the Digimon anime, it's just kind of like a shock when you first watch the film, because in the Digimon series, Greymon's big, but he's not like the size of a building big.
I did wonder this because I saw this beginning bit with this like kaiju fight. And was like, my knowledge of Digimon does not extend to understanding why this is happening.
Yeah, so that's Digimon in the real world are apparently bigger than they are in the digital world.
No, for some reason. I'll tell you what it is. IRL anyway. So obviously we've alluded to the fact that this movie is stitched together from pre-existing Digimon specials, basically.
And it shows.
So this first one in Japanese is just called, this first chapter is just called Digimon Adventure. And it was literally basically just a proof of concept thing that they did. They released it as a special because to tie in with Digimon World the game. But it was basically just we could make an anime of this. Here's a little short thing we did. So
and it was a pitch product because both of the first 2 films actually were just like Toei Animation had a fair. They have fairs every year, and they'll screen tons of animated shorts. And these ones, especially this first one, was just like it was just a proof. It was just like something for people who are at an event to watch, pretty much.
Yeah. So I think that's why there's some kind of... It's not quite consistent with how the Digimon TV show works.
Yeah,
so that's why I think... Because in the American dub, they even have Kari in the narration being like, this isn't the Agumon that we'll meet later, it's a different one. Okay, see you later, kids.
That's very true.
I actually watched the Japanese version of this one. There's more meat on the bone, so to speak. There's like this entire subplot. So Ty's dad's completely absent from this the Digimon movie that we saw, the English dub. But he's like a drunkard in the original Japanese one. He's like an absentee father, and he shows up drunk and during the height of the action of the film. But it's kind of it's still not great, because it's there's got weird... I mean, we'll talk about the music of this one, of the version that we saw. But the music for
we will talk about the music.
There are some needle drops in this. If you thought Titan AE had a banging soundtrack, this one goes above and beyond. Fatboy Slim in this chapter, by the way.
Is it the Offspring? Is the Offspring in this?
It's not the Offspring.
I don't know about the Offspring. There's certainly a couple of Poundland offsprings that show up.
Yeah, but yeah, the that's kind of like one of the weaknesses of the Japanese version. It's there's this one tune that keeps playing on loop that doesn't really match the pacing of what's happening. And
classic anime laziness.
Yeah. Presumably because they were well, it's supposed to be shown at an event, so who gives a fuck? But I actually, other than that, both the domestic version and the Japanese... I guess the domestic version is the Japanese version. The Western version of the Japanese version. They both kind of have a cutesy anime style. There's quite a lot of cute scenes. When they first meet the Digimon, the animation of Tai and Hikari herself are quite cute. When they first meet the Digimon, who... I can't remember, is it... Oh, what's it called?
I'm going to level with you, buddy. I won't remember a single fucking one of these things' names.
It's the little
or something like that?
The little ball sack monster, yeah.
Yeah, so it comes out as looking like this little fuzzball, like a little black fuzzball, and it whistles the Digimon theme at them, which doesn't happen in the Japanese version. It just blows.
Yeah, that is weird as fuck. That.
Yeah.
I do have one question. Sorry to interject. Because obviously you did mention this as a proof of concept, so it would make sense to me if this is not a recurrent thing in the series. Is Kari only communicating through a whistle a thing in the show?
No, it's only in this short.
Okay, because I thought so, because that's a very specific character trait to instill on something.
It's a cute character trait, and it kind of ties back at the end of the story. Like, again, this whole short is kind of cute. Like I said, it's a bit Spielbergian, it's a bit kaiju. It ties off nicely. There's some there's weird jokes that like they've added to this in the dub that is a theme throughout the whole thing. They just had like these weird, like almost like, it kind of feels like like, do you know when they do, if you ever watch like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Dragon Ball Z Abridged, it kind of feels like that sometimes. Where
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, where the clearly the people who are behind the booth or the writers of this were having some fun with the material. But
you definitely get that as you get into the later sections as well, because the sense of humor that this film has is really not what I was expecting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's also trying to cover up some of the editing, because the Frankensteining of story plot lines that happens with this collage of a movie. But yeah, it's like I don't mind the first short. I do want to bring up something that I just remembered now. We've talked about the Andrew Anaconda opening. We've talked about the opening chapter.
Iconic.
Do you guys want to talk about, because we're about to talk about music, and I already mentioned it. Do you guys want to talk about the opening credits of this film?
Between Angela and the movie proper, there is, of course, an iconic, universally beloved twist on the Digimon theme tune. So everyone remembers the Digimon theme tune, right? It's just Digimon, Digital Monsters, Digimon are the champions.
One note quickly, that this show was the domestic, I keep saying domestic version. The Western version was a production by Haim Saban, who, if you don't know, was the company and proprietor that bought Super Sentai and redistribute it as Power Rangers. And one of the big things, Haim Saban was first a musician, like a pop musician producer, hence why his first protocol when he's bringing these stuff over is to make a banging theme tune. You had the Power Rangers theme tune for Power Rangers, still slaps to this day, and now you have the Digimon theme tune, which I think is a bit inane and kind of boring.
I have to ask, was he behind the best one, though? Was he behind VR Troopers?
He is behind VR Troopers.
The best one.
Countdown control. 4, 3, 2, 1. We are VR. 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 Troopers 3. Virtual reality. Troopers 3. Virtual reality. Troopers 3. Virtual reality. Troopers 3. 4, 3, 2, 1. We are VR. 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 Troopers 3. Virtual reality. Troopers 3. Virtual reality. Troopers 3. Virtual reality. Troopers 3.
We are VR. Yeah, anyway, so what we're alluding to, enough cock teasing, is of course the iconic Digi-Rap, which plays over.
Did you see? Did you hear? Did you know what's coming?
Where they make every pun based on putting Digi as
No. It's not a pun. At one point, he turns the word attitude into Digitude. That is not a pun.
Did you see? Did you hear? Did you know what's coming? Digi fights and Digiballs in your hand. Digimon.
The Digitudes or Digitudes.
I'm going to be honest with you guys.
Rule.
When this started, I very nearly turned the movie off.
I
was
almost
not on board
threw
with
up.
this. After being subjected to Angela Anaconda. And then this.
You know what's worse than the Digi-Rap? What more agrees to the Digi-Rap is the fucking graphics that of it's like the most low-fi. It's like, so it has like the classic Digimon so there's like a graphic that keeps playing in Digimon. It's kind of like, you know, in Batman TV show, it goes. In this, it has like a tunnel of, you know, multicolored ones and zeros. But they've like got some cheap credits over it. But they've also superimposed like little JPEGs almost of like all the main character Digimon, and they're not doing anything except like like zooming in and out of the screen, and it's like so cheap that it's just so lazy.
I was about to say, did you guys used to use Windows Media Player by chance? Because that's the vibe I'm getting from that.
It's very much a Windows Media Player visualization. So that leads into the short that we've just discussed. But let's get into the meat of this movie. The best section, I think.
I actually think it is.
I'm going to agree with you, yeah. I have to agree with you.
So this is the section of the movie where they fight a computer virus Digimon. The original short of this is called Our War Game.
And, well, it was released as Our War Game, but if you watch the Japanese movie, it's called Children's War Game. Like, that's the title that comes up on screen. It's called Digimon Adventure Children's War Game. Yeah, Digimon Adventure 01 Children's War Game.
So this is the section of this movie, that is directed by anime legend Mamoru Hosoda. I'm probably saying that fucking wrong. I've said it wrong every time I've said it. Mamoru Hosoda. Whatever. Him. He made... he's made this movie a few times. I think it's fair to say. Because he also made...
As recently as this year.
Yeah. He also made Summer Wars, which you may remember from the 2000s if you're a weeb. Which is basically this, but without Digimon. He's also made it again. He released a movie this year called Belle, which is kind of Beauty and the Beast set in the digital world. A very long film. Visually very impressive, though, I will say that.
But it's kind of like the visual style of this, right, as well? Like, it's like the outlines of the figures are different colours and stuff.
Yeah, and like all the flying like debris that constructs the digital world is very much present in that movie as well. So he's kind of got a thing about digital worlds. He also made The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, just to people are keeping score on anime movies this guy's made.
Weeaboo.
So, yeah, alright, mate. Alright, sunshine. So that's that. So this I think is unambiguously regarded as the best section of this movie. Partially because it features the cast of the original anime. So Tai and his friend Matt and his other friend Izzy. And you have Mimi, CK, Mimi, Joe, all the rest of it. The recognisable characters. Because one thing we should say about
by the way, they've westernized a lot of this name you haven't told. Like, Matt is like... I think he's like Imataru or something, like...
Matoshi or something, yeah.
I mean, it does also feature the best character in the movie. I just want to throw that out there early doors.
Yes. We'll get to her.
Oh, it's Yamato Matt Ashida. His name is Yamato.
Yamato, yeah.
Yamato.
Matt to his friends. So, yeah. We should say as well, right, so this movie kind of comes out, in the West at any rate, at a point where the original Digimon anime had kind of finished, and they were moving over into the new generation of DigiDestined and the sort of what would become the second iteration of the Western anime, but had been running for some time in Japan. So this is why this movie is kind of a Frankenstein as well, is they were kind of like, hey, come and see the original characters that you know and love, but also there's going to be a section at the end of this which is introducing the new characters. We'll get there.
Oh, we'll get there. There's some creepy shit happening there, I think.
So, yeah, what do we think of this section? Because I've just kind of come out all guns blazing saying this is the best section. And I'm actually going to say, I kind of think the Children's War Game, Our War Game section kind of slaps. Like, it's actually good. It does. Yeah.
I think it's clear that more than the digital stuff, because like the actual action in these sequences, they're not terrible or anything. They're not kind of boring. But what the thing that I can't remember the guy's name, but what he's more interested in, and what you see in Summer Wars, he's more interested in character drama. Because mostly
Hosoda. Let's just get it right at least once.
Hosoda.
This is Mamoru Hosoda.
Hosoda. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, old Mammy Hoss.
Big Mama
He's
Hoss.
kind of more interested. Big Mama Hoss. He's more interested in like the character drama stuff, and like the hinging plotline of this is kind of like the DigiDestined at this point have like left the digital world. They're no longer savers of the world, and they just have to kind of get on with their lives. Like Tai, we meet Tai as he's trying to shoot an email off to one of the other DigiDestined who's presumably dating, and trying to get his foot out of his mouth.
They have a tumultuous on again off again relationship.
To be honest, she comes off as kind of high maintenance, because apparently we find out later on that he gifted her a hairpin for her birthday, and she took it as him not liking her hair. And
didn't he also throw up in her hat though?
when they were children, like when they were like years ago.
Just saying, I would be pissed about that for quite some time too.
There's a lot of hair stuff with this relationship, actually.
I mean, these characters are all hair. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's true, especially Ty.
That man is all hair.
His hair is so large that it can hold his goggles that he wears at all times.
Do you know what's funny about this? You just gave me a visceral flashback to the VHS of this movie. Has like a little promo for like the new series of Digimon before even Angela Anaconda shows up. And there's like a little promo with Kari's like narration, and she's like, "What does it take to be a Digidestin? It's a question we've asked ourselves, blah, 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 blah." And then it ends on a gag where she's like, "Personally, I think it's something to do with the hair." And then it cuts to like all the crazy hairstyles of the different Digidestins.
Yeah. That's funny. That's actually funny.
Yeah.
It's that standard anime thing, isn't it? Where within the first 5 seconds, you can always spot the protagonist by how fucking crazy their hair is.
Yeah, they have to walk in sideways through a door because their hair's so huge.
It's like the first time I saw Yu-Gi-Oh! I was like, oh, I wonder who the protagonist is in this one.
Yeah.
The man who spent so much on hair gel, hairspray, and hair dye. Also, we should shout out now, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is one of these other franchises. I'm going to shout out Kazuki Takahashi. Just died recently, so a big shout out to Yu-Gi-Oh! Was one of these.
Shout out to him.
He created Yu-Gi-Oh! And it feels like another one of these toy franchises, and it became that, but it started off as like a horror manga, closer to Death Note, a little bit more funny than Death Note, but it kind of started off like that. But he also died in weird. He drowned while scuba diving, and
I heard about this. I was genuinely quite shocked and upset when I heard he died, because even though it's not somebody I probably would have thought about for a very long time. Like as a kid, I was really into Yu-Gi-Oh! Absolutely loved it.
Same. I was probably more into Yu-Gi-Oh! Than I was into Pokemon or Digimon, to be honest. Like, it was all about... Because I actually played the card game as opposed to
this is the
collecting
thing.
The cards.
I collected them Pokemon cards. I never fucking played the game properly. I read the rules once, never played it properly.
Yeah. But everyone I know who had Yu-Gi played them.
Well, it's okay. We learned the rules from the show. So, that's...
Well, what rules in the show?
Well,
anyway.
Yes, that's one thing. That's a discussion for another time.
It kind of led to me being into Magic the Gathering and stuff like that, and I can smell my hymen growing back.
I can smell every fucking game of Magic the Gathering you've ever played, mate. I can smell the pure BO of people just gathered around.
Yeah, and Doritos and always have hand wipes nearby. You don't want any of that Dorito dust in your cards. Just saying.
It's good advice.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving
back to
on
Digimon
from
the movie.
a man's death and good life advice. Digimon the movie.
Digimon the movie. So I really like the first part of it. Not really like it's got its charm because the character interactions are at the heart of it. There's a lot of really fun interactions, both because of the dubbing and because there's actual character at the heart of it. Like, it's about the friendship between most of the interactions between Tai and Izzy and Matt, who Matt is off in the Japanese countryside with his brother CK at his grandma's place, a very belligerent old lady who doesn't know about what CK. He's going to use the internet for very, very different things later on.
He's just a kid now. He's gonna grow up wrong.
And, their interactions are cute. There's an entire sequence that's probably the best sequence in the film that's not an action sequence. It's like an entire phone relay race. Before teenagers had mobile phones, they only used messenger services, email, and drop calling, we used to call it, where you used to call someone up and talk on their voicemail and vice versa. And because it's set in the 2090s, getting on the internet to do this battle with this virus is a struggle because... Matt and CK's grandma lives in the countryside the Japanese countryside where they don't have computers nearby. They have to go out and find a computer.
And the virus gets into the phone lines, so he knocks out the fucking internet for a bit.
Yeah. There's also another ticking clock because there's a ticking clock because of the nukes that the virus has launched.
Can I just say, this is an epic part of the movie, and it's radtacular. That the evil Digimon is just like, I'm going to start firing nukes
I was honestly quite taken aback by that. When I was like, yeah, he's launched nukes. I was sort of drifting in and out of this movie. I do have to agree with you. This is like the best part of the movie. This is where it's at its most dynamic and most exciting. I still don't really care about any of these characters.
Sorry, I think you'll find it's when it's at its most prodigious.
Oh no.
Was that a pun? That was a pun, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the character Izzy keeps using the word prodigious.
Oh,
that's his password. In fact, he's like, use my password, prodigious.
Oh, I clearly wasn't paying as much attention as I thought then, because I didn't.
It's his catchphrase. It's his catchphrase, Mark.
Right. Okay. I thought you were making a digipun. I thought that's where you were going with that.
It is a digipun, but it's not his digipun.
Well, either way, it sucks. But
did you think I was making a pun there, Mark?
Stop!
Abdul, how would you like a permanent spot replacing Aiden on this show?
That's rude.
I think that would be prodigious.
Okay, that's it. I revoke the offer. I'm doing the show on my own.
Well, we're going to go off and start Digimon Inferno.
Did you see that coming?
Every minute of Digimon is its own episode.
Do you know what? I dare you to do it.
Anyway, one of the ticking clocks is...
But no, I thought like the movie was definitely like at its best at this point. But when he was like, "We're gonna drop some nukes," I was like, "Are the stakes always this high in Digimon? Is this like a constant level of threat that the characters have to deal with? Because if so, I might fucking watch it. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it's kind of not taking that because you don't see any of the military or anything scramble towards it. It's just the Digidestins and some kids all over like Messenger looking at these nukes about to drop.
Who defeat?
You see it overhead in Japan.
Well,
like
it's
like
do,
about
they
to.
They do have that news flash though, where they mention that the Pentagon basically publicly went. I don't know what's going on with those.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the trains aren't running in time,
which is awesome.
I mean, there's several ticking clocks in this movie. There's that. There's one of the characters who's barely in it has like an exam for high school that he has to do that he keeps cutting back to. The nerd of the group.
He's a fucking nerd. Yeah.
Yeah. And he has nothing to do in this film. And then the other ticking clock is the most dangerous of all in the film, and that's Ty's mum's cooking.
I'm glad we got to this, because Ty's mum needs to be taken away.
So, this isn't in the original Japanese version, by the way. But for some reason, the dubbers thought it'd be really funny to write in a recurring joke that Ty's mum has wacky recipes that she keeps force-feeding Ty. Like in the previous... They seed it in the previous chapter with having her saying, "I've made your favourite liver sticks."
Yes.
And in this, she keeps feeding him, like... She keeps offering Ty and Izzy, who's actually likes her food, stuff like... She's like, what is it? Beef jerky shakes? And onion
beef
juice?
jerky shakes, onion juice... Spinach cookies. She's like tries to make a couple of normal recipes. She tries to make a cake at one. There's like they cut to them making a cake at one point, and she's like, "This is the first time I used flour in a cake." And what's the other one? There's it potato. No, anyway, yeah. She keeps, and then eventually it pays off with Izzy during a very crucial moment having diarrhea, presumably, from the cooking. Yeah, he's just got to take a shit.
I said this to you guys off mic, but, like, his mum needs to be on a list. She needs to be monitored, because what she's doing is not only offensive to food, but is child abuse. I just want to throw that out there. This woman is insane.
What's really insane is that Izzy's into it. He's like, just because you like to eat healthy, you don't like to eat healthy.
I think Izzy's got a thing for MILFs. I think that's what it is. I think he's playing the long game. Yeah. That's what I think.
Beef jerky shakes? Is that healthy?
You think it's like a Stacey's mum situation going on here. Yeah. He's trying to fucking worm his way in.
I say your mum's got that beef jerky shake, you know what I'm saying?
He's got a beef jerky shake all over her face.
Oh, God. I'd like to fill her with my onion juice.
Yeah. I'll give you some spinach cookies. Oh, mate.
Well, that's probably the worst thing we've ever said on this show. Let's move on.
The worst thing we've ever said is when Wallace came into the show for a second and said, "I want some cunt grommes." Now I'm just saying it out loud. I think we might have cut that out of the Wallace and Gromit episode.
No.
Because I don't remember that in the pod.
Because I edited that episode and I left that in.
Now it's in 2 episodes. I want some cunt grommet.
The only thing I've cut recently is what you specifically requested that I cut, which involved the word vulva. That's all I'm saying.
And I just want everyone to think about the things that me and Mark have said on the show. Anything that I've specifically requested to be removed, how fucking bad must that be?
Oh, there is a lot of cut content. Like, there is incriminating content.
Think of the stuff we leave in, and then consider what we must cut out.
Do you remember on this show when we used to just throw around U-Tree allegations?
Yeah, we've not done that in a while.
We're bringing that back for Series 3.
We're barely through this movie. We need to get through this movie.
Digivolva. That's all I want to say. Digivolva.
Digivolva! Oh no. Argumon Digivolva into Greymon.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So they eventually defeat this fucking...
Well, hang on, because what happens is two of the Digimon, War Greymon
right?
and the Mecha Wolf thing, they turn into...
Metal Garunamon.
Metal Garunamon. They turn into one guy who's called Omnimon. And he's just
or a
so
Megamon
powerful.
in the Japanese version.
He's so powerful.
He's got a gun and a sword and a lethal outlook on life.
That's the thing about these Digimon, right, is that like they start off as these kind of beasts, but then they grow like machinery parts, like they have cannons coming out of the ditch.
Or more like humanoid bits. I mean, we'll get to some more of the Digivolves later on, like the angel ones.
The sexy angels. Yeah.
I do remember those, actually. I remember I owned a bunch of Digimon cards because I think in Happy Meals at some point they were just giving them away, and I had an Angemon. And even as a kid, I was like, she's showing a lot of fucking skin, isn't she?
There's Angemon and Angelamon.
Oh, yes, yeah, sorry. I had the one with the Baps. That's what I had.
Yeah, Angelamon. And that's not Angelamon of the
Angela Monoconda, what?
If you want my opinion, these angels need to meet with my friend, Shinji Ikari, and his Evas, because they kill angels on that show. That's where I'm going.
Someone's Hyman's growing back as well.
They kill angels on that show. They kill angels on that show.
So Omnimon defeats. I tell you what, the action sequence before that is actually pretty cool because there's one point where fucking Diaboromon, as the virus is known.
Abdul, stop! I've just come to an earth-shattering revelation about this movie. You've just said there's Angelmon and Angelamon, yeah? So, okay, here's the thing. Angela Anaconda, who the short would have us believe is a die-hard Digimon fan, when she transforms in her mind into the Ultraman version of herself, she calls herself Angelamon. So I'm just saying, she's a fake fan. She should know there's already an Angelamon.
And she looks like Tai as well in it. She doesn't even look like Angelamon.
Yeah, because whoever animated this has never seen Digimon.
Exactly.
I very much got that vibe. I was watching it, I was like, what's going on?
Anyway, sorry, Abdul, you were talking about the movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a sequence in it just before they fuse... I'll want to talk about that fusion in a second, beside a bit being an anime trope. Because there's another bit of like friendship will save the day in this film, because obviously it's for kids.
Oh shit! Yeah, we need to talk about that. Yeah.
Basically, Tai, Izzy, and Matt try to get and CK get involved, but Matt and Izzy and CK get taken out of the game pretty quickly. So only Agumon and what's his name?
Is it guy?
Yeah, is it Gabumon and Agumon who are Tai and Matt's Digimon are the only ones that get involved in the fight at the end of the day, and they turn into Greymon and Garunamon, and they eventually become Metal Garunamon and War Greymon, and they get in a fist fight with this virus, Diaboromon. There's like a sequence where like Diaboromon's got all these tentacles and he's throwing at them, and his face turns into a fucking gun and shoots at them, and there's one bit like Greymon who has like these big metal claws. Like,
it fucking rules. It rules.
It does fucking rule. Like, he fucking gets hit by a tentacle and those claws pop off, and he outright just starts fucking punching this virus. Which, if you that doesn't sound awesome to you, I mean, get your life in order. To be honest,
it fucking rules, dude. I also like the bit where because they get devolved into Agumon and the little wolf cunt, and they're like, "We can take him. Let's fucking fight on anyway." It's so funny. I love that they're just like they're like fighting to the death unambiguously. That's what I love about this.
I love that fucking Agumon who starts off as like a little dinosaur and then becomes like a T-Rex motherfucker with tiny arms. Eventually digivolves into his final form, who has big fists that can fucking punch you in the fucking face.
Yes.
His ultimate form. Awesome.
It was alright.
Anyway, throughout these digital action sequences, it's established that
these digifights.
Throughout all this sweet red hot digi action, it's established that like all these kids from around the world are watching and sending emails in, and because it's dial-up internet, it's slowing down the action, it's slowing down their Digimon, so they're not fast enough to defeat Diaboromon. So at the end, they just, I guess, use that as an advantage. They use the love of all these children to fuse this Digimon, because it's not a power they do until later.
Don't they also send a shitload of emails to the virus to slow it down at some point? Does that actually happen, or did I dream that?
Yeah, no, that happens.
That is the most Y2K bullshit I've ever heard.
During this sequence, Ty and Matt sync into the computer through love. They fly into the computer through love.
Oh, well, this is the thing. This is already established in the series.
Their fallen Digimon. But then also all the emails of the kids who've been watching this fight occur, who love the Digimon, they also appear, and it's like the power of prayer. It's very strange.
Yeah, they're like, you need to use the power of Jesus to defeat this Digimon.
It's like Pokemon tiers levels of ridiculous, really, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. It's also more baffling because at this point in the series, because this is a sequel to the series, they already fused into Omnimon.
Yes. So it's very strange. Well, this is in the Western series, of course, because like this was kind of... I'm not sure when this was released in terms of the timeline, but like I think in Japan this precedes Omnimon's appearance in the series proper.
Yes.
I wouldn't know.
For people who care about it.
Yeah. Yeah, this breaks Digimon canon, is what I'm saying.
So long story short, so Omnimon is God, and he destroys the virus creature, like Diaboromon.
Yeah. He kills the fuck out of him too. He stabs him right through the fucking head.
He fucking murderizes this cunt. Yeah.
Yeah.
He like
murderizes a lot of
it, and then like Diaboromon's head like sloughs off. Like it falls in half.
Before saying the words, Willis, because apparently Izzy had been in contact all this time with a kid named Willis, who was in high school but took classes at Harvard. To which Ty responds, "So what? I'm at junior high school and I take classes at junior high school."
I don't care for Ty as a protagonist. I'm just throwing that out there.
I'll tell you what, he's better than Ash.
I mean, I don't really care for Ash that much either. Yeah. So.
I actually think he's okay. I actually quite like the fact that he's just he's a brash kid who's just trying to. I like the fact that he has normal relationships with people, like a younger sister and a girlfriend that he can. You know what I mean? Like he's not just like, all I want to do is chase Pokemon and fucking blah, blah, blah.
Ash is just easily led astray by the fact that Professor Oak just goes, "Here you go, mate. Go catch these Pokemon whilst I raw dog your mum." That's what's going on in that scenario. Like Oak is a hound.
Straight up doing Ash's mum. Yeah.
Oak is a hound, and he knows how to get the woman's kids to fuck off for a bit. In Ash's case, he gets them to fuck off for life, so he could. Just
he does that to a lot of kids, I think. So he's just like this weird Pokemon cultist who's like, I'm going to plow all these single moms.
Yeah,
well, I will say this: the greatest Digidestined, or certainly the one who I think represents what my energy would be during all of this, I have to say is Mimi, because she's just like, fuck it, I'm on the beach drinking Mai Tai. Yeah, I'm on holiday, I'm on the beach, I'm drinking Mai Tais, couldn't give a shit. They're trying to ring her like, Mimi, you've got to fucking get involved with this Digimon shit. And she's like, no, click.
Yeah, to be fair, I think if the nukes were dropped and I was like, trying to get like my Digimon together, and I called you, that's what you'd be doing. That actually does track.
Yeah, I love as well that it cuts to her like watching the nuke like rise into the sky while she's on the beach. That fucking rules. Dear.
Anyway, that's the first part of it. Let's just cane through the second part because it's
some dumb shit happens in the movie.
Oh my god, let's try to start with that. So basically this movie didn't tie into the first chapter in the Japanese version. This character named Willis doesn't exist in the original version. It was some girl he's in contact with you in the Japanese movie, but they retroactively made it Willis or Wallace as he's known in the Japanese version. Some American kid who had two twin Digimon. One of them disappears on that day. Oh, basically, in the Western version, he created the virus accidentally, and then when the virus is defeated, it kidnapped one of the two twin Digimon that he had. And the next stories take place a couple of years, like 5 years later. One of his Digimon's resurfaced, but is now corrupted by the virus and is chasing him around, telling him to go back to the past. Gotta go back to the past.
Back to the past, Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
A much better cartoon.
Controversial opinion from Mark there. Oh, Samurai Jack good. What a controversial opinion.
Better than Digimon, yes.
Oh no.
Fuck it. We're going to get angry emails about that one, Mark.
Good.
How dare you say that Samurai Jack, this celebrated animated series, is better than Digimon, something no one's ever even heard of anymore.
Next he'll be telling us that he thinks Avatar The Last Airbender is quite good, as a controversial take.
You know I'm not a fan of Avatar The Last Airbender.
Oh no, that is a controversial take.
No, not that I don't like it.
No.
I'm just too old to get into it at this stage. I just can't get into it.
Incorrect. Watch it.
I've tried. It just doesn't appeal. Sorry.
Try harder.
Well, we'll get into Mark being wrong some other night, but let's just cane through this because we're an hour in. This film's kind of where it appears that where it's very clear that this is a hack job. So not only does it retroactively try to buttress itself into the previous chapter, it also features new protagonists, a new generation of Digigestions, as Kari points out. She's slightly more grown up. She's joined the new generation of Digigestions, including Davis, the new certified lead, who she says reminds her of her brother Ty, presumably because of the hair.
But who she has an on-again, off-again romantic
relationship with. Yeah, what the fuck? What kind of...
We should point that out.
Yeah, Davis...
That's not okay.
She even says it reminds her of her brother, but at least it's... Because... Yeah, he's really into her and pretends like she's his girlfriend, but she's comes off as quite indifferent, presumably because he reminds her of her brother.
No. This is just what Digimon thinks women are like. As a series, I'm not even joking about that. It is a trope in every iteration of Digimon that the protagonist is this kind of brash guy, and he has a tumultuous relationship with an aloof female.
I mean, that's literally what happened in the last chapter, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's every iteration of the Digidestined has a aloof female who the protagonist loves.
There we go. You learn something new every day.
Yeah, and Kari is this sort of version as well. Anyway, Kari comes across. Kari and CK come across Willis, who is being attacked by one of his Digimon, and they notice that he's a lone wolf running out there, he's living the David Banner lifestyle of just town to town before his Digimon attacks his other Digimon. So they get the Digidestined together, try and help him, and he eventually explains to Davis what happened, that he created that previous virus and that it kidnapped his one of his Digimon. And so they team up together and defeat this. They go back to the past. They get turned back into children, and they realize that they wanted him. This Digimon just wants him to defeat the virus that's inside them, and they do by getting swallowed by him, and then
killing the virus from within. Right.
Within, but they also in this version also introduce, because this is selling obviously a new version of Digimon. They have added some new different types of digivolving. Called Armor Digivolving.
The one note that I wrote down, by the way, there's a great line of dialogue in this, which is as inexplicable in the movie as it's going to be now, which is, we need to digivolve into our ultimate forms to release the golden digi-eggs.
That comes out of fucking nowhere, because it doesn't... I wrote that down too. It's okay, that's not even...
As one does.
You can tell this is a Saban thing, because they just pull something out of their arse. Also, all of them have kind of weird, odd personalities. There's a drill armadillo Pokemon who's a southern... he's Foghorn Leghorn. He just shows up and he's howdy.
But he's kind of stoic as well, that's the thing. He's a sort of stoic man of the land, I think.
I guess. I mean, the thing is, they abandoned even trying to give these Digimons anything but one line each during these action sequences, because it's I'm guessing the movie is much longer than the version than we got, because it's whenever it gets to cut to any Digimon action, it cannot wait to get through it. It speeds through it all. And then eventually yeah, and then he beats him up, and that is the end. And that's kind of why I don't really feel I have much to say about it, because it's this is not really much of anything. Though it does have one good... there's kind of simultaneously not much and too much going on, because they like follow this. There's this entire non-mystery with Willis and his missing Digimon, and he doesn't really know how Digimon work despite having 2 of them. He's never really had Digivolved one as Digimon before, and it's about him like kind of like learning to have a family again and learning to be a Digidestined with the rest of them. But yeah.
Well, by the way, Willis never seen again in the franchise. Karen.
Yeah.
Really? Okay, that makes me dislike this section even more for wasting my fucking time.
So this is the weird thing about this section, because they obviously put this in to promote the new generation of Digimon. But the 3 leads of the new generation of Digimon, so Davis, the girl whose name I can't remember, and the little fella whose mate is Drillmon, they're barely in it, right? Like, Davis gets a fair bit of dialogue with Willis towards the end, but like, they're kind of non-entities as characters in this. And the whole but the reason for that is because this movie was released after their series was done. So it was just a movie that featured, in Japan I mean, so it was just a movie that featured these characters. Whereas Saban and the lads tried to turn this into, it's a promo for the... Yeah. It's kind of like, if I may... I mean, we've been very virgin-y all over this one, but if I may make a very virgin-y analogy, it's like trying to use a Star Trek, like, TNG movie as an introduction to TNG, where it's just kind of like, what's happening here? And like half
the characters are nothing like the characters in the series
and they
anyway.
won't really like... And also it'll focus on like Data, or it'll focus on Picard, and then all the other characters are just kind of there to be there. And you just be like, okay... What, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a reflection of what that series would be. Not that I particularly remember the Digimon 02 series all that much, but
I mean, for me,
I just remember they have like this weird armor digivolving where they like try to sell you like the toys digivolved into eggs, and I was like, who would want this?
Yeah, they're like Transformers, kind of, right? They're like
Yeah, this is definitely the section of the movie where it's, like you said, it's so evident that it was a stitch job, because tonally this is completely different to the rest of the movie. You've not got Tai in it, for starters. And it's kind of just, tries to retroactively make this other Digimon, like, the sort of antagonist, I guess. And I just stopped caring at this point.
No.
Although, I mean, we do need to shout out, there is an appearance, a canonical Digimon appearance of the League of Uncles in this section. Because do you remember how when they have to get from Japan to Colorado, like there's like a fun bit where the girl's like, oh, I've got an uncle who has a train, I've got an uncle who has a plane, I've got an uncle who's got this and that and the other. She is utilising the League of Uncles for its correct purpose. That's all I'll say about it.
I just thought it was implying that she had a mother who was a bit loose-legged. I thought that's what that was.
Well, either way, the League of Uncles heard the call and they responded.
Not that we judge that. We've been quite like...
No, we're not judging. Like, if she wants to service the League of Uncles, we applaud that. We encourage that.
We're a sex-positive podcast. If you want to get laid, do it as much as you can. Life's short.
Life short, get
clearly she's collected an army of simps who are willing to help her teenage daughter go from Japan to Colorado at the drop of a hat.
And the drop of her knickers.
I did think it was kind of sus when they flagged down that truck. I was like, kids, don't flag down a truck in the middle of the highway.
This could only end badly. This is a Japanese movie.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't really know if I have much more to say about this. What I will bring up now is because... is the ending of this short, because it's clearly an ending that doesn't happen in the original film. Because eventually they defeat, like, Willis's kidnapped Digimon is defeated, and he's sad that he's died. But then they're like, oh, Digimon never really die. I was like, oh, great, all the stakes are gone from all of this. But apparently they say Digimon always are, like, Kari, the narrator, lets us know that Digimon are always reborn, but sometimes they come back with bad music taste or whatever. And then the fucking giant scary Digimon shows up again, but dancing to Smash Mouth.
Which is somehow the most villainous thing it does.
I was like, no, not again. Smash Mouth is like, once again, like trying its way into my life.
And this precedes the Shrek movie, by the way.
It does. Yeah, and also, I'm sick of that song, by the way, and I'm sick of Shrek. I said it.
Yes! Shrek can get to fuck, I agree.
Yeah, go fuck yourself. If you think, referencing Shrek is funny...
This is the most controversial episode we've done.
I have to really quickly chime in about the whole Smash Mouth thing, actually. So, the version of this that I watched, which I definitely sourced through legitimate means, it was a version that had subtitles on it that I couldn't remove. And the subtitles were, for the most part, pretty spot on to what the dialogue was saying. But during the Smash Mouth song, you know, there's the lyric, I'm trying to remember the lyric, I feel like I'm trying to block this song out.
Hey now, you're a rock star.
Get your game on, go play, and then there's the next bit where the ending lyric is get paid.
It says get
get laid in the subtitles, which I was like,
that's how the Digimon movie should end. It's like, all right, you watch the Digimon movie, you should probably go out and get laid, actually, because
yeah, and I was like, they slipped that in. That really stood out to me, but I immediately turned it off as soon as the credits rolled. I was like, I've had enough of this.
Right, listen, I'm bored of
Oh, we haven't mentioned all the rest of the other songs, sure, is it?
Oh, yeah, sure, sorry. We've got Fatboy Slim's Rockefeller Skank turns.
Which happens during when it's an opening, not the opening. It's during the first chapter of the Digimon movie proper, where the little new Digimon, the freshly hatched Digimon, gets chased around the room by the kids.
You've also got 1 Week by Bare Naked Ladies.
That is the funniest cut in this movie, by the way. When it cuts from one scene to just suddenly, it's been 1 week since I pissed myself off.
So jarring.
I mean, that's a banger. That's of all the songs in this thing. Fatboy Slim is a banger as well, but that song is such a banger.
Yeah, the other two that are quite noticeable or recognizable, should I say? You've got The Impression That I Get by the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, and you've also got All My Best Friends and Metalheads by Less Than Jake, which are the other two
most Jake.
Yeah.
But then the most egregious song that happens is one, I don't know, it's there's a song that happens in the inferior third chapter, where it's just like, hey Digimon, hey.
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
Yeah. Friends of all the boys and girls, or whatever.
Great song.
I'd kind of forgotten about that. Fucking hell, that was awful.
Do you have anything else to say about the fucking Digimon? I'll say the second Digimon villain is pretty creepy looking.
Yeah, it's an interesting design.
Willis's mutated Digimon, yeah.
Big rabbit-looking thing.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure I did see this as a kid at some point, but that sort of design of that Digimon corrupted evil rabbit thing, that was one of the only things that I did sort of remember from it. But no, I mean...
It does rule when he turns into the good rabbit thing at the end. And he's like,
he's even scarier.
I must die now, goodbye.
He looks even more terrifying. Also, was the that chapter also directed by the same dude who did Sun Wars? Because the Sun Wars creature looks very similar.
I believe it was directed by someone else. I may be incorrect about
that. Okay.
I think to sort of wrap up what I have to say about this movie, I did not like it. I found it to be mostly a slog. The chapter where they're actually fighting against the virus and the nukes gets launched, that was the most I came to actually finding this movie somewhat compelling. Other than that, though, the first section is quite cute, like you say, but my biggest problem with this movie is it's just so... It's because it's like a Frankenstein movie. There's just no real sort of tonal consistency to it. There isn't really much of a story or like an organic story at least. I don't really give a shit about any of the characters. It's kind of bad, this movie. I'm sorry. It's I really don't care for it.
You have to say Kino Inferno then, Mark.
Oh, okay. Can you not infer from what I'm saying? It's in the Inferno.
No, you can't infer. Listen, I've told you about fucking branding, alright, you dumb cunt.
This is now just called Kino Infer. That's what we're calling it.
I literally thought Aiden was going to go, no, we can't. I can't infer.
I am not good at reading facial expressions. How many times?
Can we please...
He loves the Digimon movie, you know what he's like.
Can we please now rename the show to Kino Infer, no.
No. Yeah. Hey, Mark, that's pretty good for you.
Fuck you. How dare you come on my show and insult me after making me watch the fucking Digimon movie?
I didn't make you watch it, you made me watch it.
Wait, who chose this?
Before we get into who chose what and who made people do what,
it all comes out now, doesn't it?
Abdel, Kino or Inferno?
Oh mate, fuck this movie. No.
Yes, Abdul. You can come back.
No, this is the thing, man. Like, there's like there's a general vibe to this that I tell you what, like the general vibe of like the first and second chapter, they've got a cutesy what's the word? Wholesome energy to them that aren't really sustained in either the dub or even the original version of it. It's not enough to hold together. Even I don't even like Summer Wars, to be honest, mate. Like that's when he took all the ideas from the second chapter and made it into his kind of thing. I think that film's kind of dull because it tries to focus too much on human drama and doesn't really make that gel with all the digital action stuff. So this film, that's like a scrap of all of those plus.
Well, to be fair, that was only Summer Wars was only his second attempt at making this movie.
Yeah, true. I haven't seen Belle yet, but I don't think I'll like it very much.
I didn't know that about the guy who did this.
All I'll say is, if you don't like character drama, then Belle's probably not the movie for you.
Well, I was gonna say if you like character drama, even Belle's not probably the movie. Oh no, sorry, I was gonna say Summer Wars isn't really the one for you.
I've never seen Summer Wars. I know a lot of people that really, dig it, but it's just never appealed to me, to be honest.
It's like an interesting concept, and as you can see from this film.
Oh yes, this glowing endorsement as to why I should watch Summer Wars.
Yeah, but yeah, I do. I only watched Summer Wars because I was like, I watched Summer Wars. My friend recommended it. I was like, wait, this is the Digimon movie, and they're like, what? And I was like, this is the Digimon movie.
I mean,
anyway.
I'm put off seeing it by knowing it's the Digimon movie, but a bit longer.
Bro, when I tell you it's the Digimon movie, like there's
but
even
without
like
Digimon.
Yeah.
So kind of what's the point?
But like even to the point where it's like the digital space looks exactly the same. Like the action sequences in digital space with the virus look exactly the same. It's just with different creatures and the most of it. So do you know, like with Matt and his grandma? That's kind of the overarching plot of Summer Wars. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Fuck this into the fire is what I say.
Cool. My review is this. This movie rules. No. This movie is pretty bad. I would say out of the two, I enjoyed this one more. Just because when I was watching Pokemon, like, it was fucking hard to like keep my eyes on the screen. I just kept sliding away and just looking at the wall. Like, not even looking at my phone. I was just like, I just need to not be there.
I'd rather look at nothing.
As possible.
If anything, I close my eyes for 2 hours.
Maybe I just have more nostalgia for this. I was more into Digimon as a kid than Pokemon. But I also think, like, this had some fun to it. Like, the final section is ass. I'll say that. Like, it deflates the whole movie. And there wasn't that much to deflate to begin with. But I do think the middle section is kind of fun. The Summer Wars section, for want of a better term. And the opening thing it's cute, like Abdul says. It is cute. I think all of these would be better served by not being stitched together as one movie. Yeah, I mean, what is there to say? This, as much as I can praise certain aspects of the animation, which I do think are good, and I do think if we're comparing the two, the animation here is slightly superior to what's on display on Pokemon.
I would definitely agree. There's a better variety of things going on in the animation in this one. Yeah.
I think Digimon look cooler than Pokemon. I think Pokemon have like a uniform design like thing that they have to meet, whereas the Digimon have like interesting, like what's his name, Kabutarymon, the giant beetle Pokemon, Digimon.
Yeah,
looks great.
Yeah, he's awesome. I like the one Digimon that's like a big cactus with boxing gloves on, because that's awesome.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm gonna have to put this in the Inferno. It's not as enthusiastically tossed in as Pokemon was, but I'm getting a good, like, it's like I'm frisbeeing it. Like, there's a good. It's turning a few times in the air as it plummets. Whereas Pokemon, I like yeeted it as hard as I could. I wanted it to be as far from me as possible.
Right, well, that was enough torturing
and that
about
Digi-bombshell. Yes, we need to escape the digital world. What I suggest we do, guys, is we email ourselves to the Marketing Kangaroo, whereupon he will open the email, presumably, and then print us out through his fax machine, and then we'll be back in the solid world of reality for the next episode. Until then, though, you can find Mark and myself in the digital world.
Obviously.
On Instagram, Kino Inferno, I think. Twitter, Kino_Inferno. Stitcher, Kino Inferno. Apple, Kino Inferno. We're probably still on YouTube as of this episode, but probably not much longer.
Yeah.
Spotify, Kino Inferno. We're on Facebook. Join the Facebook group. Abdul, do you have anything to promote?
The Digimon movie.
No.
I've got copies of it. If you want a copy.
They're not. We should say they are DVDs, but they are blank DVDs, and it's Digimon the movie is written on in like biro.
Yeah, it's Digimon DA movie. Nothing I want to promote just now. Just take care of yourselves, guys. It's a rough life out there, and
be careful.
Be careful.
And if we've learned anything about anything from this epic episode, if you are going scuba diving, just watch yourself, for God's sake.
Yeah. They found bite marks of him, like a shark got him.
Yeah, this motherfucker was mutilated when they found him.
I mean, it was like after the fact, but like, fuck, man.
I know, but still, goddamn.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of I was reading about that theory the other day. You ever heard that theory about what happened to Amelia Earhart? Like the fairly accepted theory?
Got by a squid?
By aliens?
That she would have washed up on an island and was eaten, more than likely alive, by rock crabs.
God damn.
What?
Look at rock crabs, dude. Jesus Christ. If you want to be afraid
So
of
what we're saying is...
Oh, wait, hang on. No, is it not rock crabs? They're coconut crabs, I think they're called, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say, coconut crabs are like fucking huge, yeah.
Yeah, where do I get rock crabs from?
Rock lobster, maybe.
Oh, fuck, yeah, that does actually track.
Anyway, we should end this, but I think we just need to let everyone know, just fucking stay safe out there.
Yeah, watch out for crabs. Jesus Christ.
There's fucking coconut crabs.
Sharks.
You can be having a nice bounty and a fucking crab comes at you. That's no good. That's no good to anyone. Okay, listen, I've been Aiden.
I've been Mark.
And I've been driven insane by these two fuckers. Take care of yourselves. Bye.
You're ready. With our combined feminine prowess, they'll be toast in no time flat.
Well, yeah, I suppose I wouldn't mind knocking Ash down a peg or two.
Let's blow those whining women back to the Dark Ages right where they belong!